Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers,
Tiki here,
and BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. And without further ado, it's time to crack open our
Movie Memoirs!
memoirs. How you doing tonight, Dragon?
I'm marvelous, one could say.
Oh boy. All right. So here's the deal with this month, folks. Dragon, of course, you always see more movies than I do in terms of the catch up of it all. I don't know how you do it. I don't like to ask too many questions, Dragon. I don't like to pry, but I am impressed with your ability to see a lot of movies on the catch up side of things. Usually, I have more movies in theaters, and that's kind of how we balance each other out. Dragon, this month I've had a lot going on in my personal life that I don't want to get into, and obviously Endgame, as we already kind of discussed off air and in our first attempt at this, Endgame has kind of cast a shadow over this whole month, man. Like even the movies that could have been prosperous, like something like Pet Semetary or Shazam or something like that. Like Shazam did well, but it wasn't like a big blockbuster hit like it could have been. Missing Link, we'll talk about Missing Link, not a bad movie, but I'm very scared for Leica's future after that movie. And it really all comes down to Endgame. It's like barely any other movie this month kind of left a blip on the radar. And except for Shazam, like I said, I feel like the month kind of bookended with the superhero movies. And I don't know, is that going to just be the way that that we go with movies going forward? Who knows, Dragon? Endgame is clearly blazing a new trail for us in terms of films. We've already talked extensively about Endgame. Dragon, one thing I was impressed by with our podcast about Endgame, keep in mind there's a little caveat of this, is that we weren't technically done with it because we had to do a little 8-minute, cut off. We actually got it cut off. But Dragon, the initial Endgame spoiler cast we did ran in under the actual runtime of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, like I said, there's the caveat that, you have your little 8-minute final thoughts in another video that's technically part of it that would run it over. But still, I think we should be proud of that. But anyways, so Dragon, that's kind of generally how I'm feeling. Like, honestly, even the movies that I didn't get to this month, it's not like I'm jumping up and down to see them. Like The Curse of La Llorona, Dragon, I ask you, would my list be any more complete if I had actually gone to see The Curse of La Llorona?
It came out this month, right?
Yes, it did.
Just want to make sure. I guess probably not in that case.
Shoot, I mean, there's a couple things that I do want to get around to. The biggest movie this month that I do want to get around to is The Best of Enemies. Do you know anything about this one, Dragon?
A little bit. The main thing I know about is that it's the same title as a really great documentary that was done by the guy who did the "Won't You Be My Neighbor" documentary.
Nice.
Yeah, I keep recommending it to you. It's really good. Kelsey Grammer and John Lithgow were in it. They're really good.
But The Best of Enemies stars Taraji P. Henson and Sam Rockwell, two very dynamic lead actors. And Dragon, I want to get around to seeing this, even though it's getting decidedly mixed reviews. That's the reason I didn't get around to seeing it, is that the reviews were middling and also had a 2.5-hour runtime. And honestly, Dragon, if this was like an hour, 45 minutes or a 2-hour movie, I probably would have seen it. But I saw that 2.5-hour runtime, and Dragon, I'm working full days. I'm working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. It's the busy season at my work. I'm adulting at this point, Dragon. What can I say? I'm adulting, and it's keeping me from seeing some of these movies that I might otherwise get a chance to see. But rest assured, Dragon, The Best of Enemies is on my to watch list for Prime. But honestly, not much else is. I mean, I'll probably eventually see La Llorona just for completionist's sake for the Conjuring franchise. But really, it's generally speaking, outside of Endgame and Shazam, it's been a pretty damn weak month. Would you agree?
Well, again, bear in mind, again, it's kind of slim pickings on my end too, because again, really, it's, I mean, the main thing is, it's Endgame and Shazam. Both were really good movies. So for me, I mean, I guess I'm looking at it kind of glass half full in that regards. The movie, look, my thesis that theatrically, I was for the most part, things were really impressive. Again, like batting, seeing most movies I saw were really good. There's only the other one was okay, and the other one was like, it was, could have been better, but it was, wasn't offensively bad as reported. So you kind of have. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on a lot of it.
Yeah,
Theatrics,
I will admit, Greg, and I did have I feel guilty about having to pick a worst movie for this month because the worst movie that I saw this month was okay, and it had a really good performance in it. You know what I mean? So I guess that is a good point. I didn't really see anything that was outright crap.
Yeah, so I mean, just looking at it this way, I mean, again, if you want to just when you lump Endgame and Shazam into the equation, it was a pretty good month.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
In regards to the catch up for me, I mean, I was really really documentary heavy in my catch up because I'm always seeking out a good documentary, and I was just lucky because I was lucky enough for the most part I struck it just overall. I don't know how else to put it. I just struck it right this month in the catch up material. I just really found a lot of really new stuff I hadn't seen before. It was really good, and with one exception, we'll get that. I got one stinker this month, but aside from that, everything was.
I mean, the catch up material for me this month. It's not nearly as comprehensive as your list, don't get me wrong, but I do say that there's one big landmark classic movie where kind of raised a little bit of controversy last month that I announced I hadn't seen it yet. We'll get to it. And then also Dragon, a movie that did come out in 2019, so a recent movie, a movie to put on this year's rankings, that I'll just spoil it right now. I found very much enjoyable. It was probably the biggest surprise of the year for me so far. So, the two catch-up movies that I did get a chance to watch, both very much worth my time. So,
sure.
Anyways.
All right.
All right, so Dragon Endgame, holy crap.
Yeah.
The box office on this. Let's just get right into the news here, man.
Yeah, talking about some movie news. So, Endgame.
News.
All right, so so Endgame's boxes. I'm sure it's went up since I last checked, but I mean, checking yesterday, it's up to $1.4 billion in roughly 8 days.
Yeah, Dragon, this is it's pretty insane when you consider that it literally doubled. It basically, I mean, I don't want to say literally because mathematically I don't think that's exactly correct. But by all intents and purposes, folks, this thing basically doubled the record held by Infinity War last year. So this isn't like $20 million, $30 million, like, going from 200 to 250 million. I mean, Drake, it is like absolutely staggering. And I feel like there's a few factors at play here. Of course, the big one being the, this is just like the big culmination of it. This is the return of the king of the MCU. This is the one that we all have to see. I mean, Endgame, for as big as it was, we all knew that there was going to be an Avengers 4 to wrap everything up. We all knew that Endgame was, Infinity War. We all knew that Infinity War was probably going to end on a cliffhanger. So this one, we knew that there was some, and also this one was kept so under the wraps, and the marketing was so good on this one. Aside from that, Dragon, worldwide global launch all on the same day. Very rarely is that done, and I feel like it paid off for them in terms of getting that overall worldwide box office gross. I feel like that was a smart move on Disney's part. Let's see, a couple other factors at play here. I feel like
well, it's in a lot of theaters. Like that's the other thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say, importantly, Dragon. It's funny we have this. I had such a funny interaction with my theater manager who I've become really good. I don't want to say like good friends with because we don't hang out outside of the theater or anything. But it's like
you have an acquaintanceship with the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I just I happened to snag a corner seat for a Saturday night showing of Endgame in with the Atmos and the giant screen and everything, just like I wanted it. It's not quite IMAX 3D, folks, but it's the best I can get in Petaluma, California. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I love Dolby. I don't make any. I think Dolby again. I saw Logan in Dolby, and I've never been the same.
Logan in Dolby is, oh my god, that was like theme park theme park
And of
worthy.
course, that movie opened with the Deadpool short, so that was like the 1/1000s, 2/1000s for me. Like, oh my god, okay, I've got my money's worth already, and everything else is in that and the opening to that movie. Okay, everything else is gravy.
All right, so point being, I just had this really amusing interaction with this theater manager when I went to go get my ticket. Because basically what you do is if you have a ticket on reserve and the line's too long for the Fandango machine, you can just go up to the box office cashier person who happened to be the manager at the time, and just hand him the card that you paid for the ticket with, and they'll print out the ticket for you. So that's exactly what I did. And he just looked at it. He was like kind of impressed, like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe you got this yesterday." I'm like, "I know, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, sometimes you luck out with those single seats." And I'm like, "Dude, it's crazy that it's crazy that people literally bought $2,000 eBay tickets for Endgame when they were being scalped." And you know what it amounted to, Dragon?
What?
It amounted to like, okay, let's see. Let's take a look at the schedule here. Let's take a look at the schedule. Do we really want to play Hellboy for a fourth time today? Like, are we going to really have that 7 p.m. screening for us that's been out for a month that 2 people are going to turn up for? Dragon, I really think that's what made the difference. I really think that, like kind of like the dividends, you know what I mean? Just kind of like all the variables of these different screenings that were cut. Movies weren't cut entirely from theaters. You still had like a couple screenings per day. At least this was the trend I was noticing at my local theater. But basically what the manager was getting at was that it was funny that it was funny that people were just kind of costing an arm and a leg to get their hands on these tickets when they first came out, when at the end of the day the dude was laughing about it. It's like, man, we just ended up putting a bunch of other screenings on like this week. You know what I mean? So it's like that's kind of what happened. It's just kind of like the demand sort of like the floodgates opened, Dragon. The floodgates opened. So many more screens were added. And I mean, this was a movie where there were like 4 a.m. screenings, 3 a.m. screenings sold out. It's like like every screening you could get your hands on. I mean, remember how crazy The Force Awakens opening was? This freaking trampled that, man. I mean, it's like words cannot describe. I'm just being hyperbolic and over the top, but I don't care. It's crazy, Dragon. It's crazy.
I knew Endgame was going to make all the monies, as I like to phrase it. It's going to make all the monies. But what I didn't count was it being that fast. And that's the thing. Like Donovan Martin in the comments, he says, come next week, it's going to beat Avatar. And first of all, here's hoping, because I want someone to knock Cameron off his perch, man. I just
okay, you know what would be
bad.
great about that is that not only would it beat Avatar, but it would beat Avatar in such a record time, whereas Avatar was such a slow burn at the beginning to get to where it was.
Yeah. I just want someone to beat Avatar and Titanic. I just want it so bad.
And then, you know what's also enticing about that, Dragon, is that that's just the second week. I mean, we have some competition in May. It's like, by all means, Dragon, I am stoked for Detective Pikachu. And Aladdin is one of those movies. Like, I'm not as cynical about Aladdin as I was about Dumbo, but it's still kind of like one of those homework movies for me as a guy who runs a Disney podcast. But regardless, like Aladdin and Detective Pikachu are really the only two movies that are kind of like in Endgame's path right now. And frankly, I don't even know if Detective Pikachu can knock Endgame off of its #1 perch in the third weekend, Dragon. I mean, it's like we just have to wait and see. It's like, Dragon, I really think that Endgame is going to be a movie that is going to just stay at the top for a long, long time, because it's going to be like, I can't even think about how much effort someone would have to put into delivering a movie with this level of hype and this level of payoff and this level of fan satisfaction.
I mean, that's the thing, for me, when it comes to, like, I'm looking at the end game on the list. I mean, I'm looking for the, like, basically the worldwide grossing, like, where it eventually lands on, like, the list of the highest grossing movies. I'm really one to care about, like, how it does, like, on the opening weekend or whatnot. But again, I just want to see, like, what the end, what the end, take is. I want to see, like, where it's heading. And basically, I just love seeing, like, it go up higher and higher on the list, that sort of thing. So I love that. Again, I never expected to be checking it that fast. Like, just out of curiosity, I wonder how it's doing. Like, okay, it's like, number 18, and then like last time it's number
Right.
10, and now it's number 8.
Yep.
It's like it's going up. It's I love Marvel's success right now. I'm so happy for them, and I love that. Again, here's the thing: is every time one of the big ones comes out, you have like the last 3 movies that really that were in the stratosphere, like they could knock Cameron off his perch. Man, they're so close. Was you had Infinity War, you had Force Awakens, and you have Force Awakens is, I think, still like a number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Infinity War and Jurassic World, like those are like the 3 that are below the Cameron films, and that's what I'm saying. Like Endgame, I just wanted to knock Cameron off his smug little perch. That's all I want.
Oh man, we need to do a podcast exploring your feelings about James Cameron, Dragon.
Nothing against him. It's just he's just really, he's just all smug up there, and he's taking forever with his sequels and everything.
Oh, he is. He really is taking forever with his sequels.
I mean, I love Cameron. Like I love Cameron as a.
The decade is literally come and gone, Dragon. The decade is literally come and gone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Cameron's been doing stellar work as a producer. He did that little the thing on AMC, but I mean, more importantly, he's put Alita Battle Angel into the works, and I love that movie. So that's what I'm saying. So nothing against Cameron. Again, Cameron's kind of the reason we get Alita. So I don't dislike the guy at all. It's just it's just been, I don't know. Cameron's like one of those filmmakers. Always he's like. He seems like a humble guy, but for all I know, like he's the guy like crying to a bed of money. That's kind of what it is with. Anyway, I'm trailing off. So,
so Dragon, Disney Plus.
Yes, so we had some announcements with Disney Plus, and basically, kind of as a jumping off point with the end game of it all, I figured it'd be befitting without giving anything away, of course. But let's just say that Disney Plus made some official announcements as to what shows we're going to have. Specifically, we have some Marvel shows that are confirmed to be happening, and some very exciting Marvel shows that are confirmed to be happening.
Yeah, we've got Loki, we've got Hawkeye, we've got Winter Soldier and Falcon, and then we've got Scarlet Witch and Vision, right, Dragon? That's the roster we're working
on. And you have the animated Marvel What If.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And beyond that, you have things like The Mandalorian, which looks very impressive. So I'm saying that's the Marvel stuff, but beyond that, you also have some Star Wars stuff coming. The main headliner being Mandalorian, which the idea is Mandalorian will come out by the time that is going to be released on a week-to-week basis. By the time that wraps up, that's when Rise of the Skywalker. Yeah, but I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit here. Let's scale back to the Marvel stuff. So Tiki, what are you most excited for in the Marvel lineup?
Hawkeye.
Yes.
I mean,
and of course,
easily, man. The only thing that'll get me really let down about Hawkeye, Dragon, is if suddenly it's like Jeremy Renner's like, oh no, I don't want to do a full TV show because I'm Jeremy Renner. But Dragon, I doubt that'll happen. It's like if Jeremy Renner is not Hawkeye, then my interest goes down significantly. But I'm confident that they're going to get Jeremy Renner for this thing. I mean, they have to, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna put your mind at ease on a few things here. So, of course, we don't want to give away plot details. If there if any, all I can say is like what has been officially revealed, which obviously they're not going to reveal if it was going to.
I can excitedly say Hawkeye, but I will not get into why based on Endgame.
Point being, here's the thing. So, these have all been announced as limited series. I think with the exception of Marvel What If, these have all been announced as limited series, and as far as they're concerned, like they're one and done. So they're not really, basically they'll have like other shows that are going to be forthcoming. Like they're not going to worry about making a series out of things. They're just going to like release one, then they'll have a whole nother slot of new Marvel things to release going forward. So that sounds very exciting. That basically what that implies that they're absolutely getting like the stars and everything. They're going to be doing their stuff for like 8 to 10 episodes, whatever they're doing. So they're probably going to be Renner all throughout the thing. And what we do know is that they're doing specifically what the Hawkeye comics have been doing. This is the thing that really made Hawkeye this kind of a revamped Hawkeye in a big way, aside from the movies. I forget if it was like I forget if it was this was after Avengers came out or what. But the point is, Hawkeye was kind of becoming big in a big way with the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run. And the big thing in that story, Tiki, is the main arc in that story is it kind of starts off with Hawkeye in a Netflix show. Essentially, that's how that story begins. It's Hawkeye in a New York neighborhood as a former Avenger. That's kind of how that goes, and that's specifically how it is in the comic. And the big thing the show is going to explore is the following arc, which is he's passing down the mantle to Kate Bishop, this new character, who's basically going to be taking on the name of Hawkeye. So I can say that much because that's what they reveal. So Kate Bishop will be in the show, so it's probably going to be kind of like an Ant-Man, kind of Batman Beyond sort of thing. We're passing down the mantle, and we're going to have Jeremy Renner as the mentor.
Now, the interesting thing about that is where in the timeline does this take place, Dragon? I don't want to give away anything, but you know what I'm inferring.
Well, yes, and I think it's pretty safe to assume it's going to be after. It's going to be after things, but
after things.
Yes, after things.
Okay, fair enough.
I think makes great story sense, but again, I don't want to give away spoilers just in case some people haven't been lucky enough to see. People haven't bought the $2,000 scalp tickets or anything.
Or people just after the initial rush of tickets just gave up. Well, I guess I'm not seeing it opening weekend. Guess there's no hope.
When I went to the movies to see Hellboy, I mean, I tell you, people are still showing up by the droves to see Endgame. So I don't know if they're still sold out or not. They're still. I guess now, basically, if things weren't sold, they're probably still in the process of being sold out fast, but now pre-sold out. It's they're probably being sold out.
Yeah, right.
That'd be my guess, or at least things are definitely points. I think it's going to calm down as the weeks unfold, but it's still going to be pretty busy. Anyway, so for me, so don't worry, Hawkeye, based on again the history with Hawkeye and the con, basically again the thing that really made him popular and really made people love the character was that that run, and that's basically what the show says. So I mean, Hawkeye is the easy sell. Yeah, sure, that's going to be. I know that's going to be because remember you and I when we were talking about what show should get a Netflix show next. Hawkeye was definitely one of the hopefuls. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We kind of have that in some way, shape, or form realized here. But for me, the thing that was always dependent on if this thing actually happens, I have to get Disney Plus, whether I like it or not. I have to. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it sounds like it's basically they've confirmed that it's happening. So I'm going to be signing up when the day comes for it. I hear I don't think it's going to be there at launch, but it's going to be there within the first year. So it's going to be coming fast, folks. I am very excited for it because one, I love those characters. I love Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. They're always paired together in the press junkets. They always have great chemistry. It's like the car scene from Civil War. It's going to be a lot of fun. And beyond that, there's some other stuff I can't talk about. I'm sure it's going to be really exciting. That's all I'm gonna say. It's definitely gonna be really popular, not just amongst the Uber Winter Soldier fan that I am. I think people are gonna be really excited for it. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, honestly, Dragon, I am legitimately excited for all four of these shows. The Vision Scarlet Witch show is probably the fourth most excited I am for a show, but even that, I think Scarlet Witch has a lot of potential. Vision, there's still a lot of things left unexplored with him. So, we'll see where it goes.
Well, Vision and Scarlet Witch, what I can say is, again, you got to remember, Tiki, that I don't know if this is the specific. I would assume this is specifically the idea, and what we kind of saw in the MCU when it was realized was, Vision and Scarlet Witch, they have a really beautiful relationship, and it's really good, kind of a romantic story. And there's a comic series called The Vision and Scarlet Witch, and I think that might be kind of what they're way back in the day when these two characters were kind of paired together for the first time. So I think that's. They're kind of diving into just kind of we're going to celebrate kind of what we saw in Civil War. Maybe kind of get to the. I don't know if it's going to take place around Civil War or again, it's probably going to take. And chronologically, it's based on what we've seen in Infinity War. I think it's pretty safe to assume we're going to set it kind of in that between Civil War and Infinity War.
That'd be my guess. Yeah.
That'd be smart money. It's either if you really want to be, I guess the full spectrum of it would be. I mean, technically, you'd have Age of Ultron onwards. Yeah, there's more wiggle room. So the point is there's a space there, but I think it's really a kind of a confined, limited series space.
Or
I think
I'm going to blow your mind here. What if somehow a new Vision gets created?
That is absolutely possible, and I'd be again. You're selling me, man. Of course, right now Tom King. Last time people checked in with the Vision, Tom King, who of course is killing on Batman now. He wrote a really spectacular Vision arc, which I haven't read yet, but I hear nothing but good things. Because again, Tom King is kind of like the next Snyder. It's kind of the idea with Tom King. Basically, imagine Snyder got around to do some Marvel as well. It's kind of what Tom King's kind of going about with these days. Anyway, also, of course, Loki, we got some more details. It sounds like it's going to be a little closer to what I wanted to see with the Loki show, which is going to be kind of Loki, just, like Tom Hiddleston Loki is kind of going around doing some stuff throughout history, which sounds kind of neat.
I don't know what to say to that without the Endgame
Right,
stuff.
right. Well, anyway. The point being, all I'm going to say is, well, yeah, I've always had the pitch of just like my original pitch hasn't been confirmed. So this has not been confirmed or anything. But my original pitch was always that we have Loki. We don't basically we go up to Infinity War. So mine wouldn't go beyond Infinity War or anything. We're basically just Loki through different points in the MCU as like a Marvel one shot per episode for like 8 episodes, and we learn something new about the character. And this sounds like it's going to be Loki in the past, just seeing how he's like kind of influenced people in history. That's what they've officially said. You might see Loki throughout history, how he's acted as the trickster god in way back when during the days. So that's the point. That's all they've kind of said. They've been a little tongue in cheek about it for obvious reasons, but we'll leave it there. The Marvel What If though, Marvel What If. I love Marvel What If, and this is kind of taking my two loves of Marvel What If and the MCU, and it's kind of making a miracle happen I never thought would happen. Exploring the MCU through What If. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you have way more of a connection to it than I do, but we'll see.
Well, the first confirmed idea, so I mean, it's something that you and I are definitely going to be psyched with. It's going to be again. They got the actual actors. We got Haley Atwell. We got Chris Evans. It's going to be what if Peggy Carter became Captain America and Steve Rogers essentially became kind of a 40s Iron Man. That's kind of the what if premise. That's very exciting.
So Dragon, of course, with me and Disney Plus, the main thing I'm looking forward to is not any of the new content. Granted, all the new content's going to be great. It's going to be having access to the entire Disney library at my fingertips, Dragon. That's just going to be surreal.
And some exciting documentaries that are on the way. Donovan's teasing the making of Frozen 2. And of course, I think you are more excited for, and I'm also excited. I'm definitely, again, if I'm going to get it from launch, I'm definitely going to check them out as well. The Imagineering documentaries.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Ub Iwerks thing specifically for me, the thing that Ub Iwerks' daughter is doing, because last thing Leslie Eisworth, the last thing she did was the Pixar story, which again is one of my favorite documentaries ever. So it's in good hands.
And of course, with the Fox deal, they actually announced that every episode of The Simpsons ever is going to be on there.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm stoked for that. I mean, specifically for the first, 8 seasons, but... All right. Also, Dragon, did you hear the Hulu news?
Hulu news?
Yeah, you did not hear the Hulu news.
I don't. I heard something about Hulu. I don't think it's this, though. What do you got?
Okay, I've got 2 words for you.
All right. Ghost
Rider.
Oh yes. Okay, so what's the specific news about it? I heard this is a rumor. So you're saying this is confirmed?
No, I'm saying it's confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now,
all I know is that it's Ghost Rider. I'm not sure how connected it is to the MCU. It might be connected in the same way the Runaways is kind of connected. You know what I mean?
I'm up to date on the Runaways, so I know kind of how that goes. So basically, right now with the MCU and the Marvel shows, not the Netflix shows, but the Marvel shows that we have elsewhere. We have there's Runaways, which again basically gets better after a really slow as all get out episode 1. The show does progressively get better and better in season 2, as you can imagine, is a lot better in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And you have right now on TV you have Cloak and Dagger, which the first season I'd recommend. Second season I've kind of dropped off of it because it's again slow as molasses in the first episode. It's like, oh god, I'm just bored to tears of the first episode of season 2. I don't think I'm going to watch it. But again, I'm probably going to have to go back to it at some point because of the Runaways rule. Like maybe it's just a really bad. Anyway, the point being though, Ghost Rider was established in the MCU in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so that was a different
right.
one. That was
right. So I don't honestly, Dragon. Ideally, I would like to see the Hulu show, and I don't really have any details about this. But
yeah, they didn't confirm which Ghost Rider. That's what I wanted. That's the thing. I've heard about this Ghost Rider thing, but I didn't know if it was official and which Ghost Rider they were going to.
No, they have not. They have not.
Okay, so of course I think everybody like yourself would be keen on Johnny Blaze. Am I correct?
No, that's the thing. I would be okay with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ghost Rider getting his own show on Hulu.
Oh, Robbie Reyes.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. And here's the deal. I want Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider saved for the MCU proper.
That's interesting because that's the thing. If I'm recalling correctly, it's been a while, folks. So forgive me. It's been a couple seasons. It was like season 4 of Agents of Shield. We're about to be on Agents on season 6 this month. So point being, I believe they've teased very lightly Johnny Blaze. Like we see the origin of Robbie Reyes, and basically we have like kind of I think we see the legs are like a bit of a profile of another Ghost Rider transferring the powers, and I believe that's Johnny Blaze. I believe that's basically each Ghost Rider has a specific vehicle. If I'm remembering correctly, he had a motorcycle, which is Johnny Blaze. So.
I mean, Dragon, I have like this sick fantasy vision of what I want to see from Phase 4. And yeah, it's like all the predictable stuff is there. Like, sure, Fantastic Four, kind of like do a little bit of a morphine drip of the X-Men into there slowly but surely, you know what I mean? But Dragon, ideally, the thing that not many people are talking about that I effing love to see in Phase 4, one of the realms that the MCU has not really explored yet is the horror side of the MCU, Dragon.
That is true.
I
yes.
want the horror side of the MCU so badly. I am. I mean, Doctor Strange is kind of like, he's kind of like bordering on that territory. I
mean,
feel
we haven't gotten to like Blade territory quite yet. Like Blade's definitely horror.
But that's what I'm saying. Blade is definitely like the one. I feel like that'd be a great one to reboot and introduce into the MCU. I feel like he's already a name brand character. Like I said, obviously, Ghost Rider would be part of that mix. Dragon, dare I say, I'm gonna throw out a wild card here. All right, you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
Dracula.
Well, I mean, would you say via connection of Blade, or you mean just straightforward Dracula?
No, I mean like Marvel did a Dracula comic back in the day.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like Blade appeared in the Dracula comic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like do Dracula, because Dracula, as far as I know, is a public domain character. So just introduce the MCU's version of Dracula. Bring death into the mix, for God's sake. Dragon, I am definitely like craving that side of the MCU. I want them to go balls to the walls with it, man.
Yeah, well, again, if they want to breach in the horror, Ghost Rider and Blade would be the
and then one day, Dragon, one day, we'll get a Marvel Zombies movie.
Yes, that's the end. That's the way.
Ultimate Endgame, Dragon.
Well, Disney Plus, I could imagine them pulling that. Well, I can imagine pulling it off. But bear in mind, again, it's a little unclear how exactly they have the Simpsons on Disney Plus. It's a question like how far they're going to be able to go on certain things because obviously, Netflix. Obviously Netflix, they're allowed to go really far with their stuff, and that's the question: like how far? Where's the line drawn? Like how far is? I mean, obviously, Walking Dead is very popular. I'm just trying to question like how old ages is the Walking Dead necessarily?
Oh, not very old ages at all.
That's what I'm saying. So that's the one tricky spot with Marvel's Zombies. Maybe as an animated thing, perhaps, but I don't know. I love where your head's at, though. I love it.
I don't know, man. I
on Hulu though. On Hulu,
it's something that I feel like I could spitball into a PG-13 Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing.
Like either that, or honestly, son, we'll be talking about later on with the catch up here. I mean, again, they could, they face more like skeletal zombies. Perhaps they can get away
right.
I don't know. It's like either that, if they could strike up a deal with Hulu, perhaps on something like that. Again, they probably get away with it on Hulu. I'm not sure.
But of course, Dragon, like I feel like that's not where we're going. I feel like Phase 4 is going to focus much more on like Fantastic Four and Captain Marvel, and giving the second tier characters like Black Panther and Doctor Strange their sequels and wrapping up Guardians of the Galaxy and all that. Like, realistically, that's going to be Phase 4.
All right, real quick. I have a way of making your dream come true here. You ready?
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay, we do a Watcher movie, and that's how we see alternate realities, and that's how we get Marvel Zombies on the big screen.
There we go.
That's how we also maybe we introduce the Fantastic Four, then with Galactus talking about the Watchers, some of the cosmic stuff, and we know the rumor is we're getting that Eternals movie, and that's how we do. We introduce forget the Galactic, we introduce the Eternals via the Watcher movie as one of the realities. We set things up in a whole movie, but we have vignettes. We have Marvel Zombies, we have Eternals being set up, and maybe a little bit of Galactus for good measure. But the point is, we do some cosmic. We do a whole cosmic movie. Maybe the origin of the Silver Surfer. So we set up the Silver Surfer. in the movie with the origin. Then, of course, we see him
The
in
Silver
place.
Surfer is very much someone I would like to see a solo movie for Dragon.
I know they have a director. Well, I know one director, Adam McKay, wants to do that Silver Surfer movie, and I want him to do it because I love Adam McKay and I love his directing, so I want him to do that.
That's Vice, right?
Yes, Vice, yes, and the other guys, which again, that's the one you really have to see next, Tiki. The other guys.
Interesting. He would not be my first choice for Silver Surfer.
No, but he's a fan of the character. He really loves that character. He worked in the little reference in Vice.
All right.
Anyway, so also just the voice here, Donovan Martin. He's really excited for the Loki show, and he mentions Howard the Duck movie, which he says no, he's joking. But I'll remind you, I believe I don't know.
You know, I want that, Dragon.
Now,
I mean, that would be like, oh my god.
I'll remind you again. It's been a while to get the.
Or at the very least, have Howard Duck be an actual supporting character in Volume 3.
Now, I'll remind you. Now, again, it's I can't remember where specifically this is going to be, but I mean, I know Kevin Smith's going to be working on an animated Howard the Duck thing, which I believe is going to be part of Marvel What If. So I don't know if it's going to be its own thing or if it's going to be part of What If, but I mean, Kevin Smith was announced to like be either be writing or I mean, again, I think it's going to be writing the animated Howard the Duck thing. So.
Yeah, I don't know, Dragon. Maybe it's just the fact that I just absolutely love Disney ducks, and I'm tickled pink by the fact that Howard the Duck is now officially like a Disney duck through and through.
I hope they keep Seth Green as the voice because I really want that to be the case. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I've just got such a soft spot for Howard the Duck in the MCU, and I will just follow him to the ends of the earth, man.
The thing I love about Howard the Duck they'll never do. But my favorite, one of my favorite standalone Deadpool comics, I think it's just hysterical, is Deadpool. Deadpool. It's a series called Deadpool Meets. It's all about Deadpool crossovers of random characters every issue. One of it was Deadpool Meets Hellcow. I love Hellcow. Hellcow is a Howard the Duck villain.
Yes.
It's a vampire cow, and here's the thing: it sounds ridiculous. It sounds
so
insane.
familiar.
I've told you this before. This story cracks me up. It's basically Deadpool meets a vampire cow that can only say moo.
Oh God!
It's like the I Am Groot effect. It can only say moo, and Deadpool forges a friendship with this cow, and it's a team up with it. Oh God! It's just, and there's a hysterical dark bit, but I don't want to spoil it. I encourage everybody to see. It's like it's a one shot. It's a one done issue. It's called Deadpool Meets Hellcow. It's just check it out, folks. It's hysterical. Anyway. Okay.
All right. So what's the next item on the docket, Dragon?
All right, let's see. Just want to make sure to think of our transition. Oh, it's Sonic. We're talking about Sonic.
Oh, dear God. Okay. So, Dragon, breaking news. Have you heard about the latest development on Sonic?
Please tell me it's that Tim Miller is more and more divorced from the project. Please, we want to save the beloved visage of Tim Miller.
I really don't know anything about Tim Miller's involvement in the project, but
Blur Studios is still credited on it. I hope that's all as far as it goes. That's all I hope as far as it goes.
So, Dragon, apparently they're going to completely redesign Sonic from the ground up.
Nice. Wow. I mean, that's
I mean, it's bold. I mean, it's like, it's basically taking the main character of a movie and just, but yeah, that's the main problem with Sonic is those damn long legs, man. Those sexy hedgehog legs, Dragon.
It's the legs and the lack of gloves that really bothers me. That's the thing. Like, man, again, he's gonna be standing out in the world anyway. Why are we shying away from the gloves? Why make him a realistic not even a realistic hedgehog? Why are we gonna make him a weird hybrid, realistic and athletic hedgehog? Why?
Yeah, it does not work.
I'll put it to this: I got friends who are hardcore Sonic the Hedgehog fans, and they not thrilled by this.
Of course, Dragon, the insult of this all is that it's just yet another, like, Yogi Bear, Woody the Woodpecker, Smurfs, just like, I mean, that's the real insult of it. You know what I mean? It's like, thank God we have Detective Pikachu coming out. Thank God for Detective Pikachu, Dragon. Early reviews that are in of Detective Pikachu, by the way, all signs point to it being a Lego movie style success, and I'm stoked for Detective Pikachu. I cannot wait for that movie. Thank God for that movie, because Sonic the Hedgehog is just, Dragon, the only redeeming thing about Sonic the Hedgehog, I feel like, is that it's going to be a meme.
Yeah.
One way or another, this movie is going to be a huge goddamn meme.
You know, it'd be funny though, just with the Yogi Bear comparison, it'd be hilarious if Tom Cavanaugh was in this, because of course Tom Cavanaugh having Reverse Flash experience and he was a very fast character. That would, and here's the thing: Tom Cavanaugh can do no wrong, even in the worst.
Okay, no, I got it. Tom Cavanaugh is Knuckles.
Oh God!
Because Knuckles is Sonic's main rival. You know, he's not necessarily the villain, but he's Sonic's main rival.
Right, Knuckles is the black and red version of Sonic, right?
He's like the red and white version.
Right. Okay, I think I'm thinking of something else. Okay, sure.
You're thinking of Shadow.
Yeah, that's one thing. Shadow's not the rival.
Shadow's more on the villain side of things, but you know what? Tom Cavanaugh can play Shadow. Why not?
I'm saying, I mean, one Cavanaugh's got range. Second of all, again, Reverse Flash. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So the point being, obviously, one of the big problems, I think, and maybe they'll amend this. I doubt it. But again, the other problem is like we're not doing all. At least bear in mind it's a trailer, so you don't really know a lot. But of course, Sonic has a rich collection of characters and side characters alike.
Yeah, no Knuckles, no Tails, no Amy.
Just James Marsden. Just smiley James Marsden.
Smiley James Marsden, man. And nothing against James Marsden. I love James.
Yeah. We'll, nothing wrong with him, but it's yet another movie where we just have James Marsden pair with the CG characters. Another one of those. It's no Robot and Frank. James Marsden has a decent role in Robot and Frank. It's not a main role. It's just kind of there.
Either.
It's what?
I said it's no Enchanted either.
No, it's no Enchanted either. He's, of course, again, Marsden impresses. The thing people really loving him in. That he was good. I mean, you and I both dropped off it for good reason. But Westworld, he was good in it.
God, yes, Westworld was just like, sinking ship.
But again, first season and just what we nothing against him, but what we saw of him in it, he was good.
Yeah.
The point being, Marsden is like he's.
Apologies to any Westworld fans.
James Marsden is just kind of he's the nice boy next door. That's kind of what he's like. Oh, that Marsden kid. I want good things for that kid. He's reading my newspaper of film, and you know what? Just Marsden that he just keeps getting these projects where even a Cyclops, like, hey, Marsden is Cyclops. It's good for him, and of course, Cyclops always gets wrote out of the movie in some way, shape, or form. But again, it's like good for him though. But that's the thing, like, hey, Marsden in a Disney movie, but he was, got the stuff to do there finally. That's the thing. Marsden's always in these movies where he doesn't have a lot to do.
All right. Can we talk about Jim Carrey as well?
Okay, yeah. Speaking of which, of course, Tiki and I were on a huge love fest recently with Kidding.
Yes, Kitty, and of course, the spark of this love fest was probably the Man on the Moon documentary.
Yes, with Jim and Andy, of course. Of course, lifelong Jim Carrey fan over here as well.
So, Dragon, I know that you've never watched Tim Tracker, but it is just every time I see Jim Carrey in this goddamn trailer, I am not going to think of anything but Tim freaking Tracker.
Yep, and I got nothing.
All right. I'm sorry. But the really frustrating thing is that at the end of the trailer, we see him in the classic, like, giant mustache Eggman getup. And I'm like, why can't we get that through the whole movie?
So, and here's the thing. Bear in mind, when I heard Jim Carrey announce the movie, my assumption was that, again, I thought we were going to have other CG Sonic characters. And I thought Jim Carrey was going to do the voice of the Eggman. And we said, okay, no, we're doing, again, I'm not opposed to Jim Carrey.
Dragon, Count Olaf. He's doing Count Olaf in this movie.
Here's the weird thing. He does this thing in here, and again, I'm not, like, it's a wait and see. I'm not seeing this thing in theaters, but I mean, we'll see what happens eventually when it comes out. But
I don't know if I'm going to see this in theaters. It might be too tempting, Dragon. It might be too tempting to pass.
The point being, Jim Carrey's doing this choice where I think he's trying to. Either he's a crazy man who thinks he's, again, bear in mind, you already know more about Sonic than I do. I mean, is Dr. Robotnik actually a robot? Is that the thing?
I don't know for sure, but I believe he is just a dude who makes robots. Like, he's got like a robot army, and he turns tiny critters into robots, and that's kind of his whole gimmick.
Because he created Sonic, didn't he?
I think so, something like that.
But anyway, the point being,
Sonic, you got to keep in mind, Sonic the Hedgehog, like, it's got a weirdly complex backstory that I am not privy to. My fandom of Sonic goes about as far as like Sonic Adventure for Dreamcast. It's like I don't really follow the modern Sonic games.
All right, so my point
is there's
is
probably a lot of world building that I'm not privy to there. Anyways,
my point is Jim Carrey's doing this thing where like he's talking to Neil McDonough, who, by the way, I love that actor, of course, Dum Dum Dugan from the MCU. He's Damien Dark on the CW shows. Good actor.
It's like we like all these people. We like all these people.
Yeah. We do.
And you know what? Sonic the Hedgehog is even voiced by my favorite duck from DuckTales. He's voiced by the same guy who does Dewey. I'm like,
really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
I'm like, God damn it.
And that's the thing. I'm wondering why on earth they didn't get Roger Craig Smith? He's even Sonic in the, he's Sonic.
I know. That's a whole different story. That'd be like doing a Mario movie and not getting Charles Martinet. I mean, can you imagine if they did that?
Okay, my point is, Jim Carrey's doing this thing where he's talking to Neil McDonough or Brannigan or something. He's doing like this thing where I think he's a crazy man who thinks he might be a robot because he does that twist where he does it's like doing the robot dance where he's like turns and like
it's
statistically
painful. It's painful.
Why? But here's the thing, though. Again, I'm not counting him out because it's Jim Carrey. I mean, he always has a benefit of the doubt built in there, but it's a question of seeing the live action. Sorry.
I said I'm counting it out.
What I'm saying is, what Jim Carrey's doing here is it's the fact that again I'm not into the Sonic mythos, and I just know that the Eggman is kind of this over the top kind of inventor character. And of course, I'm one for an over the top inventor character. But my point is, again, I was taken off guard. We were seeing him in live action. It's not like CG enhanced or just fully a CG. Character, and then of course, Jim Carrey's the guy who likes to go method ordinarily, and he's not putting on the weight or everything for wearing a suit or anything for it. It's like okay, and of course at the end we get a glimpse of what it would actually look like as the Eggman, but it's really it's a lot to take in is my point. And it's like I would like to put some faith in Jim Carrey, but again the movie just is not really endorse.
Okay, Dragon, I'm gonna give the movie literally 1 point. All right.
Okay.
You ready?
All right.
They've got the ring sound effects down.
Yeah, the ring sound effects. I gotta tell you, I did like the slow-mo. I did love the slow-mo bit where Sonic just kind of freezes time. He does this stupid I've taken 9 million steps today. But after that, he basically he's using all the missiles that were launched at him. He's just kind of blowing all the other missiles up with the missiles that he's grabbing. That's a cool use of the kind of super speed and slow-mo. That's a neat little bit right there.
And I also really like the ring surrounding the Paramount Mountain. That was a nice touch.
Sure, I mean, again, I have a few bits. Just a few bits does not save a movie make.
And the few bits are all kind of just little flourishes in the trailer. I like the whole I believe it's every hero has a genesis. That was clever.
Yeah, we got some comment action here. Let me read some stuff off. Donovan saying Sonic looks very creepy, and I think we're all in kind of
creepy.
And apparently, again, I'm just blown away by you revealing that Sonic fact. Because, oh my god, this! I don't know how long it's been since we have something like this. I mean, it's probably not as long as I'm making it out to be, but I mean, it's been a while since we've had marketing so bad that they had to redesign a character from scratch. And I pity Tim Miller.
Well, I mean, I don't. It's not the same exact situation, but I am reminded of the Kevin Spacey situation with that.
Right.
Yeah.
right. With the whole replacing an actor that.
Yeah.
That sort of. Sure. But by the same token, though, I think. They had the CG's face on top of the other guy.
No. They just literally went back and replaced all his scenes.
Okay. All right, got you. They kind of pulled a bit of a Brando on him. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, what was I getting? Oh, right. So I pitied Tim Miller with that because here's the thing. I remember way back when, and again, this has changed. I'm pretty sure this has changed. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. From what I understand, Tim Miller, of course, did Deadpool. He's now currently directing the new Terminator movie that's coming out. That again, James Cameron's producing. He's saying this is officially this is the real third movie in the franchise.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Jimbo.
Point being, we'll
sorry, I'm your ex-Terminator fan, Dragon.
Okay, my point is, again, he's saying this, you ignore all the ones they're going to bomb, but this is one that follows Judgment Day. But we'll see how it happens. Points, Tim Miller's involved, which has my interest. All that said, Tim Miller, after Deadpool, he got a lot of job offers and stuff. And one of the things he was flirting with, he mentioned being involved in a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And I was unclear of what exactly he was going to do on that, whether it was produce or directed even. But point being, We know Tim Miller has Blur Studios, which kind of got him the job on Deadpool. He has the visual effects video game kind of animation studio, which he does really top-notch work. They did the Arkham trailers. They did really good work. And they did like the thing kind of did the Iron Man Hulk short film that predated Iron Man. So again, the reason we have Iron Man the MCU in part is thanks to Tim Miller. In part, it was just kind of getting good word of mouth around. Anyway, what I'm saying is, all I know is that Blur Studios is still credited as like one of the animation studios attached to like kind of the CG look on Sonic. So I'm hoping that's as far as it goes. That he's basically just they're using his studio to animate Sonic. I'm not seeing him the executive producer credit and everything, but they're not showing every executive producer like as far as you can see it right now. So I don't know. I pity it in this situation now that yes, it's good they're redesigning Sonic, but poor Tim Miller has to go back and I'm assuming it was studio notes. Okay, we got to make him. No gloves. Wait, are you sure no gloves? Because that's how Sonic looks like. Tim Miller, shut up and do it. I was imagining that's what the conversation's going like. Like, no. You gotta give him legs, man. We're talking about the legs.
Oh God, Dragon. Honestly, like a coworker of mine actually like called me up and like was like, "Dude, I just heard that they're redesigning Sonic. What do you think?" And my honest answer was like, I'm honestly kind of disappointed because I thought that the creepy, uncanny valley, like sexy leg Sonic was like so amusing and meme worthy that I'm kind of sad that we don't get a whole movie of that now.
Right. All right, let's see.
And I gotta be honest with you, Dragon, I am not optimistic about the new redesign looking great.
Well, I'm just imagining they have. Look, we'll see what happens. I'm basically more fascinated to see the trailers than I am to see the actual movies. I want to see like how this plays out. Really, it's just kind of where I'm at on. We just want to see. Like, oh my God, they're gonna.
Christ, that was such a terrible song choice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a bad song choice too. Yeah.
Like, why? Why? I mean, the least they could have done is like at least played like the Weird Al version of that song or something.
Well, I know what I would have wanted, but again, it's going to be said that they ripped it off from someplace else. But again, let's do Daft Punk. Let's do Faster, Stronger. Let's do that one.
Or Life in the Fast Lane. I just any number of songs about going fast.
Or just for random sake, maybe Flashlight just for fun. I don't know. Anyway, okay, let me see if there's anything.
People drive my car.
Or Hog. I was gonna say no. There's no song I'm saying about like I was gonna say Hogwild, but nothing like Born to Be. Doesn't matter. Anyway. Well, no, actually, yeah. Well,
the main score from Wild Hogs.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, so let me see if there's anything pressing here. Monkey in the comments. Monkey says,
hey, Monkey.
Monkey says someone calculated how many babies Sonic apparently killed in the trailer. Not joking.
What? Oh dear. Oh, I don't even want to know.
Yeah, so that's disturbing. All right. So anyway, also he's pointing out like so Sonic is Quicksilver, basically the X-Men.
Hey, Monkey, also stick around because I'm going to give a brief, like in just a couple minutes here, I'm going to give a brief mention of the 3 shows I saw this month. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that, just so you know. Anyways.
All right, so let's see. The last thing we should get to is some Star Wars related stuff. So overall, this month was kind of big on Star Wars because we had the Star Wars Celebration that went down, and in April, and we also had just without going through the whole thing, because we already talked up the Mandalorian. The Mandalorian was again they showed a footage, essentially the first couple minutes of the Mandalorian, which looks very impressive. Again, set after Return of the Jedi. It's very
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying overall, Favreau's attached. It's kind of a lawless western in space, following like the nameless bounty hunter, the Mandalorian. It's like really cool stuff. They're confirmed to not be Boba Fett. So if it turns out to be Boba Fett, it's gonna be
Boba Fett.
It's gonna make Favreau a liar, which I'm hoping Favreau will not be a liar.
You're a fibby boy, Favreau.
You're a fibby boy, Favreau. Okay, no. So in all seriousness, Favreau, he's treated us good here. So let's hope that he's not going to be a fibby boy. Okay. So, but the big news that came out of Star Wars Celebration was a little trailer by the name of The Rise of Skywalker.
Red Letter Media in a video that I find very amusing, but still, it just took all the punch out of it, Dragon.
It's still though. I'm just saying, no. It's it was the breathing and everything is kind of. The point is that to me overall, the rise of
I mean, I'm
Skywalker is
just
still.
going to be honest with you. The more I sit on it, the less I'm stoked on something that got revealed in the trailer. Let's not talk too much about the trailer because of Monkey, but
All right, well, fine. So overall, without talking about what happens in the trailer, I'll say that overall in the trailer, I still feel pretty much the same. That again, I think it redeemed. I think it's kind of bought back a lot of the Last Jedi points because, as you've said, when we've kind of covered some of our May the Fourth with you stuff, it's definitely it's a little dicey being a Star Wars fan around the time of the modern movies that are coming out. Because Last Jedi kind of left a bad taste in some people's mouths. Tiki and I are not quite of that opinion. We're saying I'm just kind of the opinion like, yeah, there are a couple botched bits in the Last Jedi, but the whole movie I do like.
and I'm of the opinion that I honestly think Last Jedi might be better than freaking Return of the Jedi. I'm sorry.
Well, again, I'm more of like I can't, Laura Dern. Yeah, it's we bombed Laura Dern. We gave her a really cool death, but we bombed Laura Dern. And beyond that, we had, beyond the casino stuff, not bad, but doesn't belong in the movie.
All right.
Anyways, the point being, this I think has brought back a lot of points. I think it did what they really should have done with the trio. It's kind of like putting faith back in the. J.J. Abrams is back at the helm, and we got we're gonna kind of revitalize some stuff here again. Basically, I think we're in a good place with, it, and I think kind of brought back some goodwill. That's where I'm at on the rise of Skywalker.
Okay, but of course, Dragon, today, unfortunately, just a few hours ago, man, this is really crushing news, folks, and we have to say goodbye to a legend, truly someone who's been with us and been a member of our family, kind of like the proverbial life-size cuddly teddy bear, if you will, the original Chewbacca, Mr. Peter Mayhew.
Yeah.
Dragon, he's gone, man, and I'm just I'm pretty it's hitting a lot of people pretty hard, man.
I met the guy.
Yeah, I know you did. I remember you telling me about him.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. It's
a lot of people are citing his Reddit interactions. I've been hearing. Dragon, do you know anything about this?
No, I don't know anything about this. No.
Yeah, apparently he was like just really, really open with people on Reddit, and he just like have like these long, extended conversations with people. Just was very approachable with anyone who wanted to talk Star Wars with him, and that's really going to be his legacy. It seems it's just being a guy who was very approachable by the fans. Of course, gave birth to a legendary, iconic, kind of like one of the big mainstay, like Mount Rushmore sidekick characters. Dragon, is it fair to say that Chewbacca belongs on a Mount Rushmore of sidekicks, like right alongside, like I don't know, Robin and a couple others?
I mean, Chewie is the co-pilot, man. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Everyone needs a Wookiee as a co-pilot, and that is Chewbacca. And the thing made people kind of forget, and I think it's kind of worth mentioning, the whole thing with Chewbacca is that, when they do those movies, I mean, he's not just like kind of he's not doing just the kind of the suit acting, as it were. I mean, he's saying those lines to give people their cues. I mean, he's in the scenes with them, and Chewbacca does have dialogue in those scenes. And like, it is, like, there is a history there. There is a friendship. There is a human. There's a humanity to that character. I think Peter Mayhew, I think the big legacy, and the thing is, like, I still got the impression of up close and personal. I've always had just the impression of ever since I saw, like, like some of the stories, like, that really brought me into Star Wars with the Empire Dreams documentary way back when. Was he's just kind of the consummate kind of English gentleman who just he's the approachable, he's essentially the approachable consultant who's had the years on the job. That's kind of what his legacy was, and it's kind of what it's been, especially going into the new films. Like, he's consultant on Solo. There's a point where he couldn't be in the suit anymore. I think after Force Awakens he had to retire from being in the suit at all. But
Force Awakens was his last movie, which I think is honestly, I feel like that's kind of a proper send off. As much as I like The Last Jedi, I'm glad that his last movie was something less divisive than The Last Jedi.
You remember, he was a tall man. Like, he had knee problems. Like, always, I remember I saw him, he had like a cane and everything. That's the thing. Like, Peter Mayhew, again, he was in it for the long haul. Again, if you want, just again, one of the folks, it's kind of sad to admit we're kind of reaching the age where we're losing a lot of our Star Wars icons as the years kind of go on, where it's a sad and scary thing. But I guess the only way to look at it is, like, they're kind of becoming one with the Force in a way. They're becoming like they've had an impact on us, but they're going to still be kind of the Force ghosts in the room. They're never going away,
Yeah. Dragon, have you seen the image that floats around the internet Chewie and Han drawn in the Bill Watterson Calvin and Hobbes style?
I saw. Well, I think I saw some stuff with Kylo Ren with that, but I didn't see any recent stuff with that. No.
Okay, well, just use your imagination with it. You know, it's like a little like Calvin Han Solo and like a big Hobbs Chewbacca, right? Just in the Bill Watterson style.
Right.
And instead of the wagon, they're in like a little Millennium Falcon.
Oh, it's adorable.
And Dragon, that's the image that I put on my Facebook to commemorate Peter Mayhew. And I gotta say, Dragon, you know, I don't want to like pat myself on the back or on this one or anything. Like, yeah, that's a good death post, Tiki. Yeah. But you know, by any means. But I gotta say, Dragon, I'm quite proud of this post. I feel like it really sums up my feelings on Peter Mayhew and the whole situation quite well. And this is a quote that paraphrases the very last lines of Calvin and Hobbes. Dragon, the famous last panel of Calvin and Hobbes is there rolling down the hill in the wagon. It's a magical galaxy, Chewie, old buddy. Let's go exploring.
Oh.
Yeah, I got to admit, like I said, I'm not trying to like win like brownie points. Like, yeah, that's a good death speech. But I'm pretty proud of that one. I think it sums. I think it's, you know, it sums up. It's you know, it's not too wordy. It sums things up quite well. I like it. I think it. You know, like I said, I'm not like obviously I'm not like. Anyways, you get the point. You get the point.
I get the point. Yes, I do.
Bad situation, but I feel like it's classy. I feel like it was a classy move on my end.
Right.
All right.
So you know, on to some lighter stuff. So you know, let's reflect on some TV and theater before we get to the films. But also, you know, not going to take that long. So again, you and I both saw at the start of April we binged The Tick. Season 2.
Yeah, we did a whole spoiler cast for The Tick Season 2, folks. So, you know, if you want to see our extended thoughts on all the episodes, go ahead and look for that on the channel. Just search the channel for The Tick, and I'm sure you'll find it. Dragon, long story short, on The Tick Season 2, I like it a lot. It's definitely got some good character growth in there. It's got a lot of entertaining moments, some really good standalone episodes. I really don't feel like it has the bite and the oomph of season 1, though. I just, like, looking back on it, kind of watching a couple of the episodes over again, I don't know, I gotta say, it's just, like, I feel like it's one of those seasons where I don't really feel like, it's weird. It lacks a certain amount of development. At the same time, it's like, all the development we do get is very interpersonal, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like the actual plot of the season, like the Lobsterculi stuff, you know, it's a nice personal journey, but it's not like, it's nothing compared to the Terror Dragon, and I miss the Terror so bad, and it's like, I feel like The Tick Season 2 is very much like Daredevil Season 2, you know, it's got some really good moments, it's got some really good new characters in it, but ultimately it just can't measure up to like that landmark that we got with Season 1, and that's very much where I am with The Tick Season 2. Not bad by any means, but, you know, just didn't quite hit the same mark.
Yeah, and I thought you know, season 2 was a blast. You know, again, there's some Tiki knows there's a cell I'd like to say, but just in case you haven't seen it, I won't say it. But you know, there's like, you know, it's the Take and Arthur doing something, right?
Doing something. They're doing something, man.
They're doing something awesomely. But anyway, so the point being, you know, I love Sarah Finowitz. He continues to dazzle. He's got a little bit of dimension.
Sarah Finowitz is like the reason to watch the show, man. He's so magnetic.
Exactly. That's it. Like Sarah Finowitz, we got to see not necessarily kind of plot developments. We got to see character developments with, like, you know, we got to see kind of a paternal side of the Tick. We got to see it's kind of like him kind of, again, him like, there's some really, episode 4 of season 2 is a really good one. Let's just call that the Danger Boat episode. I think we're really gonna like that. But in overall, look, I love the new status quo. It's the Tick and Arthur is like they're fully embracing destiny. They're doing stuff. They're doing mundane situations with them. So I mean, episode 1's like, you know, it's really the point being on the whole. I love the new status quo, and I love you know, the season's a lot of fun. I agree with the point. There's no terror in the season. No, I don't mean there's no fearful things. I mean there's no the terror in the season. But it's you know, it's a lot of fun though, and it's just great to kind of see the Tick. And I really hope it comes back for more because I love this show, man. great world we live in. We have like a new Tick, and it's season 2. You know, we can say there's a season 2 of the Tick. Couldn't say it for the Patrick Warburton show. Anyway, so
Monkey, if you're still there, I would like to know. Leave us a comment in the chat if you are still there. Hopefully he is. So because Dragon, you know what we're about to go into? You know what it's time for?
The theater.
No, Dragon specifically. It's playtime!
God.
Playtime! No sign from Monkey?
Oh, wait, he's here. I'm here
cool,
till
cool.
10, but may need to use the restroom. Haha.
Okay, well, Monkey, stay here because I'm about to get into the plays that I saw over the month. You'll definitely want to listen to this. All right, so Dragon, this is a new installment of, or this is a new segment on movie memoirs, striking right out the gate in episode 4. And Dragon, spoiler alert, I can definitely say that this will be a reoccurring segment. There's a lot of stuff I'm seeing over the summer. But yeah, let's get into it. I saw 3 shows in 3 different venues, actually. First show was Barbecue Apocalypse. Now, this one is it's kind of framed in 2 acts. Act 1 is a backyard barbecue with kind of like a boiling over sense of tension between all the guests. But it's very much kind of like a satirical comedy. A lot of the themes in it revolve around kind of like getting older, being in your mid-30s and still kind of like feeling like you're a kid and not really feeling like you're growing up. And, you know, when do you ever really become an adult? It's stuff that I can, you know, as someone who's very rapidly approaching 30 myself, I can painfully relate to that kind of writing, honestly. Let's see. It's just got really good, earnest characters in it. And then, Dragon, the cool thing about it is that Act 2 literally, or Act 1 literally ends with the end of the world. And then Act 2, we come back, I believe it's a year later. Yeah, it's a year later. It's the anniversary. It's the anniversary of the end of the world. I don't want to give anything away for Monkey because he might want to go see this one if it eventually comes around to him. But let's just say Act 2 just, it's a great kind of compliment to Act 1. It really, it feels like 2 different halves that really kind of come together. You know what I mean? They're 2 distinct stories. You know, one being kind of this like boiling over social satire. And then Act 2 gets into kind of some crazy, like it's more of like an end of the world parody. It's, you know, it's a lot more fantastical. It kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, like a weird, like Taika Waititi movie or something like that. I don't really want to give anything away about it, but it's, you know, it definitely takes some interesting dark turns in Act 2. Overall, Dragon, I really liked it. The set design was great. I saw it in the experimental theater at Spreckles in Roanoke Park. The experimental theater is a more small scale, intimate theater next to the main theater at Spreckles.
Yeah, Spreckles.
Well, typically the main theater is where they do musicals, and then the experimental theater is where they do plays. You know, like non-musical shows, essentially plays. And so this one is a play. Dragon, the set was really impressive because they really just built a whole backyard deck, like from the ground up, and they even have like the exterior of the you know, of the house and the sliding glass door and everything. And the neat thing about this production, one little detail I learned is that one of the details of the characters, like one of the character building details, is that, you know, the main couple, the 30-something couple, is ashamed that they still have movie posters as decor in their house. And through the sliding glass door, you can kind of see a movie poster. And I believe mine was The Thing. And Dragon, apparently the movie poster changed every performance. Every performance had a different movie poster. I don't know. I thought that was kind of clever. Yeah. But yeah, you know, just Barbecue Apocalypse. I definitely recommend it. It's yeah, it was a good time. Good time. Okay, now here's the one that I really walked in knowing absolutely nothing about, but I was just craving, like, man, I want something to do. I want a night at the theater. I really want to go back to this venue because I saw Cabaret at this venue, and I really kind of, it's a great, really, really intimate, like super small theater that you really get up close with the actors, and that's kind of what I dig about theater. So I managed to get a front row seat for A Perfect Ganesh at Cinnabar in Petaluma. Dragon, this was a flawless night of theater, my friend. This thing knocked my socks off, man. I loved the show. Oops, hold on, sorry. There we go. Apologies. Dragon, the thing about this show, I don't want to go on like a big tangent or soliloquy or anything about the characters or the message of it or anything like that. It's got a lot of themes going on, you know, like getting older, the loss of a child. I mean, it's like forgiveness, compassion, travel, like religion. It even explores like the rise of AIDS and, you know, like homophobia and stuff like that. It's got those kind of social issues worked into it. Like, Dragon, I could sit here all day explaining the plot to you. The plot is very deep, it's very mature, and it's honestly the first play that I've seen like this that really just kind of takes on a head-on, like, you know, like, all right, this is just a mature subject matter. Like, yeah, it's in the guise of like a travelogue. It's about two women, you know, two middle-aged women who both experience tragedy in their lives, going to India as kind of like a redemptive spirit quest in a way, you know, as a way to kind of cleanse their soul. They're both looking for different things in India, and they don't know what they're going to find, and the trip kind of ends up revealing both what they wanted and also kind of leaves them leaving feeling a little empty at the end of it all. It's very much kind of like a play with very little answers. But what's amazing about this play, though, is the set design, Dragon. The set design was freaking fantastic, especially for a theater that's so intimate, for a theater that's so small. Dragon, essentially what they did here that really blew my mind. It kind of reminded me of, like, you know, like it feels like the sort of thing Disney would do, honestly, with a stage production. Is that they had like these different layers of curtains, right? And so different things were happening in different layers of these curtains. And so the whole thing was just this very multi-layered, like, you know, like lights and in set pieces, and things would be obscured. And of course they take the actual, like, you know, the actual India architecture into account. When you first walk in, the one thing you see on the stage is just this very small, very, you know, very modest statue of Ganesh, the elephant god, who weaves his way throughout the course of the show. And it's kind of like just this very small shrine. And I'm sitting there and I'm just wondering, like, is this gonna, like, I have no idea what to expect from this show. And I'm like, I'm just thinking, like, is this whole show gonna take place around this one shrine? Is this gonna be the set? Like, I don't know. And then, Dragon, holy crap, as the show went on, as those multiple layers of those curtains revealed themselves, and we got into, like, bam, now we're at an airport, and now we're on the airplane, and now we're on the balcony of the India hotel, overlooking the terrace and overlooking thousands of people. I mean, Dragon, between the way that the dialogue, you know, points a picture in your mind's eye, and the sets and the lighting and the music, it was just a spectacular experience. I mean, I really dug it. You know, yeah, again, it's like, it's not really necessarily a story that I think you'd like be super into or anything. But I do think if you saw the set design in person, and you saw the scene transitions and everything, I think you'd be impressed just on a technical level. All right, and then we got Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus
Superstar.
Christ. Jesus Christ is right. Here's the thing, Dragon. I set myself up for failure with this production.
I remember when we all throughout, you know, we're doing kidding and everything, and Prince of Egypt. You've been on Jesus Christ Superstar High. You know, you've been talking about it.
Dragon. Here's the thing. Like, I loved this album in high school, It was one of like my mainstay albums that I would just like listen to over and over again. I am intimately familiar with this album. By this album, I mean specifically the original Andrew Lloyd Webber Tim Rice concept album. And Dragon, that's the problem. That's the problem, man. This is a hard album to adapt. This album was literally sung by some of the big iconic rock stars of the early 70s. And man, I mean, seeing it done by JC performers, it's one of those things where it's like, how was the singing, Tiki? And I'm just like, well, I couldn't really say. It's not really that type of a production. And Dragon, I don't know, it crushes me because I did see, like, for me, the musicals at the Santa Rosa Junior College, they are hit and miss for me. Like, so far, I'm kind of like at a batting average of 2 outs, 1 hit. The 2 outs were Into the Woods and this. And then the 1 hit was Shrek the Musical. I really, really liked the production of Shrek the Musical.
Hey, you had the puppets in your version, right?
Yes.
Hey, lucky dog, you got the puppets.
But Into the Woods was fine. I just thought that some of the performances in Into the Woods were lackluster. And with Jesus Christ Superstar, there was some interesting stuff going on. Like, I wish I liked it more than I did. Because I do give the choreography a lot of credit. It was very, very lively. There was a lot of stuff going on with the choreography. One of the things I really liked about the choreography is how much they used the aisles and the stairways in the theater to really convey like how Jesus's followers were at different points, and you know what I mean? Like it kind of conveyed like a distance. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but basically, you know, you had like different people situated in different points in the theater that were kind of like overlooking the action going on, and it kind of added a grander sense of everything. It kind of made everything feel a little bit more all-encompassing. But Dragon, sadly, that couldn't save the performances. And look, I don't even want to say that the performances are bad because that would be unfair. It's just that I set myself up for disappointment with this. What I should have done is I should have like just gotten the soundtrack entirely out of my head. I shouldn't have gone back and binged the soundtrack all over again, man.
Yep.
Because I mean, look, it's not even the singing quality, all right? I want to emphasize that. It's not even the quality of the singing that I care about. It's the actual inflictions. This dude doing Judas, I mean, he's fine. He sings well. If anything, he's one of the better singers in the production. But man, he does not get the range of emotion that Judas is going through in this story. The chick playing Mary, I mean, fine. But just didn't really stand out. Didn't have kind of like that tortured sort of like, you know, she's in a battle with her soul regarding the situation. No one really did it for me, Dragon. It was just kind of like, it just kind of felt like a soulless, like, all right, like, you know, I'm watching a really good production of this. Like, I'm watching good choreography and good lighting and everything. Everything's on point. The set was good. But just the performers, and I feel bad, man. I feel bad saying that, and I genuinely hope that no one involved in this production is watching this, all right? But, it just didn't do it for me, Dragon. It just didn't do it for me. And as you know, I was very hyped about this, and I kind of left just feeling a little underwhelmed. All right. Okay, so now let's get into the actual movies. Like what, like an hour and 40 minutes into this thing?
Maybe. Well, yeah. Well, not an hour and 40 minutes, but, you know.
Something
anyway,
like that.
Doesn't matter. Okay. So let's get things started.
Yeah. Okay, Shazam. So, Dragon, you already know. It's like, I still think Shazam is genuinely a benchmark. I really do. It's sad because Endgame is like, Endgame is so much more epic than Shazam, but at the same point, it's totally an apples and oranges situation. Like, honestly, as a standalone movie, I feel like Shazam works a lot better. Like, you really don't get the impact of Endgame unless you've seen literally every movie that builds up to Endgame. So, I don't know, Dragon. I just hope that Shazam doesn't get lost in the shuffle, my friend, because I'm a really big fan of that movie. I think the chemistry between all the characters is just absolutely infectious. I think the writing was just super on point. The action in that movie was just genuinely really good and didn't overstay its welcome. They did a lot of creative stuff with the powers. I mean, genuinely, I really, really am still glowing about Shazam. But I'm still glowing about Endgame too. So you know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think? How are you feeling about a month in after Shazam's release?
Well, Shazam, again, overall, I'm still feeling that it's just the shot of lightning that DC needed. It was refreshing and true to the character. It was fun. He had action, but not too much action. Again, it was kind of like it's like a Donner Superman meets Big in a modern context. It's the best way I could kind of phrase Shazam. And the interesting thing is that Shazam and Endgame are quite polar opposites when you look at it this way. Because again, one's a standalone, one's again the culmination of 10 years, but also again one's an ensemble piece, and again basically like the payoff of the cinematic universe. The other one's just trying to live down a cinematic universe and just trying to kind of be its own thing. So again, they're very much opposites, and that's why I don't really have. Again, there's very different, and again, tonally, one again is the end game of everything, kind of. But don't get me wrong, there's fun to be had in end game. For the most part, though, it is the stakes are high.
Mm-hmm.
But Shazam, on the other hand, again, Shazam is about
Shazam, like hands, lightning from my hands.
But still, I mean,
my hands.
Lightning from my hands aside, you have it's about kind of the magic of family in an unconventional way.
Yeah.
Magic of family in an unconventional way. So it's what the whole point of that movie is. Again, I think the one thing that Shazam still has in regards to Endgame, though, is that again made the better Captain Marvel film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, I'm still personally look whether it's petty or not. I'm sorry, but I'm still glowing with the fact that the original Captain Marvel stood up to the Marvel one. And, it took you took my name, but I made the better movie. It's
right.
I mean, come on, that's there's something really special about that. And the fact again, Shazam was exactly what it needed to be. Like the worst thing I can say about Shazam is that the seven deadly sins could have been a little bit more diverse. That's really the worst thing I can say about it. And they were accurate though. That's what they look like in that book. And again, it's just they could have been colored a little bit differently. So that's really it. It's give them a little bit more personality.
That's like a total nitpick.
That's what I'm saying. It's a nitpick, and that's the thing. I mean, Dad and I would have liked a little bit more of a parallel between Sylvana and Billy Batson or just Shazam as a whole. I mean,
by the same token, I will argue you this. I've been watching a lot of retrospectives on the MCU recently, kind of examining what the MCU did great, did bad. And Dragon, one of the things with the MCU is that, of course with the villains, a lot of the villains are just like, hey, let's take the hero, but now they're evil. So I got to admit, I kind of like that the villain in Shazam is kind of like very, very different from Billy Batson.
I know, that's what I'm saying to you. I think the only frustrating thing, it's not frustrating in a way that takes anything away from the movie. It's just frustrating. The movie's so good. It's almost like let's say it's like 95% of its full potential. And there's that 5% or maybe 5 to 10% of its potential it could be reached, where everything's all the pieces are there. Again, these two villains are different, and again, the parallel is there. They just don't vocalize. That's what kind of bugs me. They could say something. They don't really have like a chat with each other. It's the hostage situation. That's really about it.
Well, they do have a chat with each other, and it's hilarious.
That's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. It's more of just like the other guy. Well,
yeah, I
okay.
know.
But that's what I'm saying. I just wish there was a little bit more of a. That's the only real thing I have against the movie. That still is very small and really it's a pittance compared to all the great stuff that's in that movie. So again, I still have a lot of fun with Shazam. It's something I really eagerly go back to. And I think it's something that's going to be kind of change the tide for the DC movies going forward. Is focus on making a good movie before they're worried about how it connects to everything else. If it connects, it connects. If not, well, again, they're playing loosey goose. They're seeing what sticks and what doesn't. Anyway, so the point is, I'm still riding high on Shazam, but I mean, compared to Endgame, of course, it's kind of a slaughter. But again, they're two very different movies. So speaking of which, let's get to the Endgame.
I mean, what else can we really say about Endgame at this point, Dragon? It's just I feel like your Pulp Fiction briefcase analogy kind of says it all. You know what I mean? It's
after seeing it, it's like we know what's in Marcel's Falls is briefcase now.
Endgame was just the ultimate culmination of 11 years of storytelling and 22 movies, and literally every single movie in that franchise gets paid off and referenced in some way, and it's I mean, Endgame is a movie where it's like I see some people trying to nitpick the plot holes and everything, and I'm just like, stop, just don't. It's not that kind of movie. It shouldn't be that kind of movie. It's not trying to be that kind of movie. Dragon, there's a reason why I nitpick the hell out of the plot holes in The Dark Knight Rises, right? It's because The Dark Knight Rises sold itself as like a super gritty, uber realistic take on Batman, and that movie is full of plot holes. The Avengers was never supposed to be super gritty and uber realistic at all. And I just think, Dragon, this is like the ultimate we don't care movie for me. It's pure popcorn bliss. It might be the biggest, like, pure popcorn action movie, the most satisfying one, hands down, since Mad Max Fury Road back in 2015.
Of course, by we don't care, just for the sake of the movie Memoirs. Of course, by we don't care, we mean just kind of that philosophy. Like you're enjoying yourself so much in a movie, and you have like a logical pops up and like we don't care.
Like how does Thanos? No, never mind.
Anyway, the point, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So the point being, you have these moments of just like how is this possible? Or like if you really think about this, like we don't care. Who cares? Who's gonna ask that question? Like in Toy Story, it's like
all I care about is that if what they're laying out makes logical sense, if I can follow it in the moment, if I'm not completely lost, like, wait, what is the plan? Go over it again. And more importantly, if the ultimate resolution is an emotional and satisfying one, which goddamn Endgame is.
That's the thing. People are just, without saying what it is, people are taking some pot shots at the Act 2, which Act 2 is a lot of fun. I'll say that much. And it's just like, again, basically
the biggest part of the movie. I'll give you that much. And Act 2 is probably going to be the one that I fast forward the most upon home video watches the movie. That doesn't bad.
I wouldn't fast forward through Act 2 because Act 2 is a blast. Act 2 is a lot of fun. But that's my point. Is like, again, people are taking some pot shots. But again, they took a chance, and then again, there's enough logic where again, like basically, there's a lot of room for headcanon. Like, okay, well, you can make it work. It's fine. Just don't really worry about it. Don't think about it too much. Even if you wanted to, you could find a way around it. It's like it's working with a confusing topic. So there's really, and that's the easy out for without saying what it is. Like it's a topic where there's no direct answer, but if you want to apply a lot of logic to it, again, the root. Believe me when I say this, folks. The Russos do think about these things, and they took a risk, and they took a calculated risk. They knew what they were risking, and there's some workarounds, and they know the answers. We won't really find until the commentary what exactly the official workaround is, but it doesn't matter. That's the end. That's the end of the story right there. It doesn't matter. And again, it's like we don't care. I was going over like Toy Story. It's like the Sid gets the rocket like a little late, too late at night. Like who gets the mail at like 5 o'clock? Like who cares? The rocket's going to send Buzz, that's going to lead to, this isn't flying, this is falling. What style? Who cares when the mail comes? That's what I'm saying. Like, at the end of Toy Story, why are there Barbie backup dancers during, like, the big Vegas number of You've Got a Friend in Me? The song's so good. Who cares?
Wait a minute. Doesn't the end of Toy Story take place around Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That actually kind of explains that plot hole, because oftentimes around Christmas, the postal service is slowed up because there's so many packages going out. So that's why the mail might be a little late.
All right, sure. But again, that's the point.
I'm just saying, there you go. There's your logical solved right there.
Yeah, there's the end game point there. Again, you could rationalize something if you really want to work at it. Or again, like for me, I get many times that the post service is unreliable around me. Therefore, the mail comes later. So that's my excuse for it. Like, well, sometimes the mail's unreliable. I'm to tell you. Otherwise, it's just like you can find a rationale for it, but it really doesn't matter. Anyway, okay, so for me, Endgame, just to kind of wrap it up. So I mean, for me, it's Endgame. It's a conclusion beyond compare. It deserves all the praise. Again, the Pulp Fiction thing, as I've been saying,
I think there's going to be a possibility of this thing getting some serious Oscar love. I really do.
Yeah, it's got the best other way.
It's got that Return of the King like event movie, like end of an era factor going for it.
Does that'd be great if this was the Marvel movie to get the nod, man. That'd be nice. But yeah, so I think this this out the other way I could phrase it, out in the whole Pulp Fiction comparison, like this is what's in the suitcase, is it outshines Infinity War, and Infinity War is a great movie in itself. That's like not a slam against Infinity War. This like it kind of kicks the crap out of Infinity War in the best of ways.
This movie is like Thanos in that Hulk versus Thanos fight in the beginning of Infinity War.
Pretty much.
It's like it's like Hulk can hold his own for a little while, but at the end of the day, it's just no contest.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, Endgame it's true to heroes. This is the big reunion piece and finale, and this is the thing people were expecting with Infinity War, that they kind of made us wait for, and they kind of made us wait in a good way. It's like, oh man, we appreciate it even more so. It's this celebrates 10 to 11 years of movies. It's each act is a movie within itself, and it's an act that keeps getting better and better as it goes forward. So it's Endgame. I can't say enough nice things as Donovan said earlier on. Like, he's going back to see it again, and I can't wait to see it. Hopefully, at least one or two more times. I've already seen it twice, so it's I'll
probably end up seeing it one more time.
At the very least, I'm going to see it one more time. I'm maybe two more. We'll see what happens. Point being, Endgame, a lot of fun. Okay.
All right. So, Pet Semetary, it exists.
Yeah.
Next.
Well, come on, give him the Lithgow, would you?
All right, Lithgow is great. All right, Judd Crandall is a great character for Lithgow to play with. I don't know. Pet Semetary is just super forgettable, though. Like, Lithgow's good, but even, like, I don't even really remember much about Lithgow besides kind of like him reciting the memorable lines that we know Fred Gwynn recites in the original Pet Semetary.
I love Fred Gwynn.
I don't know, Dragon. This movie is just very much like, as a horror movie fan, it's not scary at all. It's not scary in the slightest. It just does nothing. It's got no meat on its bones. And it's not even like It, where It didn't necessarily scare me either, but at least It was like a fun kind of like carnival dark ride with a lot of like creative set pieces in it. This is just none of that, man. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't go far enough into the emotion. I feel like the big crux of the story that really kicks the story into high gear happens way too late into the movie to really have the impact it needs to really breathe. Like, there's a lot of fundamental stuff just really wrong with this movie. I mean, granted, I'll give you this. It's way better than Winchester, which is the Jason Clarke horror movie from last year. It's way better than Winchester, Dragon. It's nowhere near a train wreck that Winchester was. Winchester was just a movie that I just sat there just so pissed off and bored at the same point watching that thing. Watching Winchester was a miserable experience. And honestly, watching Pet Semetary was a decent experience, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and say that I was having a bad time watching Pet Semetary. But by the same point, this movie hardly does anything special besides Lithgow just being there, being reliably good as Lithgow.
Right.
I mean, anything else you want to know about it?
Well, I mean, like, does this kind of shake your faith in like other Stephen King adaptations? Like, is this the thing that encourages you to seek out Castle Rock? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, I mean, I don't know. Castle Rock is just the only reason I haven't seeked out Castle Rock yet is just because I have a million other things on my plate. And honestly, with a million things on my plate, it's kind of hard to know which one to go for. So,
right.
But I mean, in terms of shaking my faith in Stephen King, honestly, Dragon, I didn't have a ton of faith in Stephen King adaptations to begin with. I mean, like, I just feel like Stephen King is a unique art author where the only way that you could really get him down is if you took like an MCU approach with him and really just started from the ground up and got fucking lucky. Like if the Dark Tower ended up being a success and then they could have built on that, that's one way to do a Stephen King cinematic universe. Like, Stephen King, in order to do it properly, would have to be a cinematic universe.
Well, and Castle Rock is kind of the cinematic universe show they're doing with Stephen King.
I get that.
From what I hear, again, I don't watch. It's not my bag, but I hear good things.
Right.
Mark Bernard works on it. He wrote it. He wrote a number of episodes for it.
I mean, Dragon, I am very much into It Chapter 2. I don't think It Chapter 2 is going to surpass the original by any means, but I'm excited to see more Pennywise. I'm excited to see more of those creative, like, carnival dark ride horror set pieces.
And a few of our boys are in it, one of which has a show right now. Barry, it's Bill Hader. He's going to be in
Bill
it.
Hader, James McAvoy, I believe, is in it
Yeah,
also.
Mac. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, it really just kind of depends on the project. Like, I know they're doing a sequel to The Shining right now based on the book sequel, and I have no idea how that's gonna go. So we'll see. We'll see, Dragon. It's like, frankly, I feel like some of the best King stories have already been adapted into really memorable films anyways, and we don't really need remakes of them. So, it's like, who's going to do a remake of The Shawshank Redemption? You know what I mean?
Oh, that poor SOB, whoever's going to have to do that. Oh, God. Like, hey, you have to. Hey, what about Shawshank?
Or, even like a more realistic, like, this is a more realistic thing. Like, I could actually see this being a remake, but I still wouldn't envy the person making it, and it'd still probably be way inferior. Stand By Me. Stand By Me, Dragon. That's an underrated classic. We need to talk about Stand By Me one of these days.
Anyway, also, speaking of it too, Donovan says the first trailer is expected to drop May 9th for it too.
Oh, okay then. All right. I will definitely be there watching it, Donovan. Thank you.
All right.
Would you be down to do a trailer talk with that, Dragon?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe.
I mean, I know you're not going to see the movie, but it's like, at the very least, you can marvel at Bill Skarsgård.
I might. At least I'll check out the trailer. We'll see where I stand. Anyway, okay. Basically, it depends like how much hater we're getting. I don't know. We'll see how much of our guys. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
All right.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, that's my thoughts on Pet Semetary. I mean, it's, Church the Cat was maybe the most memorable part of the movie besides Lithgow, I guess.
Looks a little bit like Poncio from Cat Lover, don't you think? There's the poster here.
But yeah, just it's just an okay movie, Dragon. I mean, as far as the horror movies that I've seen in 2019 go, I definitely don't think it's as good as Escape Room, and Escape Room wasn't great, but at least Escape Room was more creative than this. So yeah, I don't know. It disappointed me for sure. I expected more from this.
Okay. All right, for me then, I recently, the thing I saw recently, I wasn't sure because Endgame coming out kind of definitely hurt the show times for this thing. It was a real gamble if I was going to be able to see this or not. I was able to see it just by the skin of my teeth. I was able to see Hellboy.
Oh boy.
So Hellboy, I was acknowledged. I saw with a friend who's also a big Hellboy fan, and of course, me. I specifically, I love the Del Toro Hellboy films, and because a lot of people are. I don't know what it is. Some people are getting really antsy because it's like basically anyone who has a criticism against Hellboy. It's like, well, I don't read the comics, so I'm gonna set the record straight here. Look, guys. I'm a Mike Mignola fan. I love Mike Mignola's work. I've met the guy, even nice guy. I don't want to say like, hey, he's met Mike Mignola, but I have. Nice guy. Of course, he's responsible for Mr. Freeze on Batman the Animated Series. It's Mike Mignola. I love him for his DC work primarily, but I've read Hellboy. I got the books. If I'm being honest, so like the main thing I really have with Hellboy with comics is like the adapted source material that fed into the first movie. Of course, like Golden Army is kind of an original story. It's that's Mignola inspired, but it's not really adapting the work. The first movie is all about Seed of Destruction, a few other short stories from Hellboy. So the point is, like, that's the extent of my Hellboy knowledge, like the stuff that went into the stuff that's been adapted in the first movie. And I've seen the animated stuff. And I have a vibe on kind of like Mignola's style. So I get the whole Mignola style of it all. So I was encouraged to go into this movie. I was told, basically, my friend who I saw this with, he said, I heard you should go into the movie like not expecting Del Toro, expecting the Mignola comics. Because here's the thing, Tiki, Mike Mignola, he helped develop this. Again, he doesn't get the end writing credit, but he helped develop the first initial drafts that then were kind of refurbished as it went along. So Mike Mignola was more involved in this reportedly than he was in the movies. Because I don't know what it is. Mike Mignola always sounded like really complimentary towards he likes the Del Toro Hellboy movie, specifically the first one. I get a sense that he wasn't thrilled with the second one. That was always my impression of Mignola's kind of take on the films, because he's actually in the first movie and he has like a cameo with Del Toro. So what I'm saying is I was encouraged to go into this movie just go with the Mignola expectation. And looking at it from that view, I just looking at it like, okay, just expect like the Mignola comics kind of come to life. It's kind of being adapted and channeled through this movie. I enjoyed it in that regard. I enjoyed the movie enough. It's not great. I'll acknowledge that right out of the gate. It is not great and does not hold a candle remotely to the Del Toro films. But again,
I imagine so.
But again, basically, what I enjoyed two things in the movie. Okay, two things in the movie. And again, bear in mind, like I didn't walk out of this thing like having a bad time or anything. My friend and I, again, we enjoyed it based on what the expectation we walked in with. Like, expect some Mignola stuff, and we'll see how David Harbour does his Hellboy. And David Harbour, a lot better than the marketing hurt this movie a lot because he looked. I was really. David Harbour announced for Hellboy, that's great casting. See him in the makeup. Okay, a lot like Ron Perlman. We'll see what happens. And then the trailers happen. It's like, oh god, I'm not sure. I don't think he can talk through the makeup. and that's the thing. Nothing against David Harbour. It's like I don't know if he's gonna be able to like that. I don't think the makeup's as good as the other movie. I think it might be working against him. But I'll tell you this: end result in the movie, he was a serviceable Hellboy. He was like, again, he's no Ron Perlman, but he's pretty good. So again, it worked out for him. So Harbour's good as Hellboy. And I like the Mignola accurate stuff in the movie. The stuff feels like basically the Hellboy design. He's a little bit beefier up top, which of course Hellboy, he always has like the little tiny legs and the big, he's like an asymmetrical design. And so that's the film. I love all the aspects that are true to the Mignola style. I feel like okay, this feels very Mike Mignola. It's all kind of creepy, and we have this kind of the asymmetrical design built into a lot of things. Like that's all really neat and good. However, again, the movie's rated R, and they're really touting that off. And I feel the movie. I'm not saying the movie didn't need to be rated R because again, it's complimenting the Mignola style, which goes really dark at times. But here's the thing: it's a little gratuitous in places where again we do Mignola stuff, but then we push it past like Mignola stuff is like we kill a guy. And of course, I'm not really worried about spoiling this for people, by the way, because I don't think that people are going to see this. Because the critics are raking this over the coals. If you hadn't noticed, people are just
yeah, a little bit.
That's a thing. Like really, it's getting like 14% that people the critics are really harsh on this movie. It doesn't deserve that much hate, but it's like it's not Yates. It's far from Yates. It's like basically you have like gruesome kills where like one of our bad guys, our monster guys, like he's no Mr. It's not like an awesome looking practical effect, but it's a CG effect. Where you have like basically this guy, he like rips a guy's throat out so he can speak in the guy's voice. So he rips out the voice box, and that in itself, like okay, that's Mignola-esque. You would do something horrible like that, but I don't need to see the guy bleed out on the floor. That's when we're getting gratuitous. And that might sound sparing, but let me tell you the big example. Okay, there's this one sequence in the movie, one specific sequence in the movie where it's just too gratuitous. I think everybody so far has agreed with me on this, where it's that the Baba Yaga scene. No, it's not. No, it's not John Wick. It's not. The Keanu Reeves is not in the movie. It's sorry, it's a John Wick joke. Point man. There's a scene with Baba Yaga, the boogeyman, essentially, and it's basically this really creepy really deformed bone lady. And she's like eating the bones of children and stuff, and it's just really gratuitous. And the bit for me, it's gratuitous. Like, again, that idea that's a Mignola idea. Don't get me wrong, and Baba Yaga as well. Like, again, each segment of the movie adapts a thing from the book, and I respect that. And you can kind of feel it even if you haven't read those source materials. It's like okay, that feels like a Mignola idea. It looks very Mignola-esque. But the problem is, like Baba Yaga, there's like some gratuitous level. Like Baba Yaga, after eating like this stew made of children that we see hanging on hooks in the room, it's really creepy. Baba Yaga's like making out with Hellboy to seal a deal instead of like a handshake deal. It's like, oh god, it's like revolting. And again, Emma is like a really deformed, like 100-year-old like bone, like she walks like a contortionist. It's like, oh god, it's all sorts of wrong. Like that to me is gratuitous. Like I don't think we need that. Like that's the kind of stuff. But again, on the positive, one last positive aspect. Ian McShane, he plays Trevor Bloom. Of course, I like Ian McShane. Of course, I love him as Tai Long in Kung Fu Panda, but I've seen him in Ray Donovan. I've seen him in live action stuff. So the point is, like he and John Wick as well. Oddly enough, Baba Yaga, Ian McShane, same movie. Go figure. Point being, Ian McShane, he plays Trevor Bloom. He plays the father of Hellboy, and they have a good father-son dynamic. That's a good compelling part of the movie. So Ian McShane and David Harbour really bringing in the movie. I'm going to give them points there. So that's. And on the whole, that's the movie. It's a weak story, but it's coming from a good place that I respect. It's just not it's not sticking the landing at all. So again, not the best thing I saw this month, but definitely, it's not as bad as reported. So
all right,
okay.
Okay, so Dragon, this next movie is a disaster, but not from any sort of like cinematic perspective, just from a business perspective. Like, oh man, it's like Kubo was by no means a hit for Leica, but at least Kubo made a little money. This Dragon Missing Link just came and went so fast, and I feel so bad for this movie. I mean, by the same point though, Dragon, this movie is an impossible movie to sell. I mean, it's just like I don't know, like it's there's some elements of kind of like you've got like almost like a Ripley's Believe It or Not kind of approach to it. It almost feels like a Robert Ripley movie, if that makes any sense. Like, just this guy who's going on adventures, finding weird magical creatures and stuff like that. But then it kind of becomes a movie about your own identity. And like Dragon, this is a very mixed bag of a movie. And I didn't love it, and there's moments in it that I really like. I feel like that Zach Galifianakis is really great and soft spoken as the main Link character, and of course Hugh Jackman, fun and charismatic as always. Zoe Saldana got a lot to do as the feisty love interest. On paper, there's a lot of good elements of this movie. There's a fun bounty hunter character who's chasing the heroes through the whole movie. There's a really intense kind of final action sequence involving stalagmites and stalactites of ice and a bridge and kind of crazy maneuvers with that kind of stuff. But I don't know, Dragon, on a whole, I don't have that much to say about Missing Link, because really it's just I feel like the whole thing is not as, it's not the sum of its parts, if you will. It really doesn't come together all that well at all. It's I feel like it's Leica's worst movie, Dragon. I feel like it's Leica's worst movie by a considerable margin. It's not a bad movie. There's definitely some good stuff in it, but it's just a very, very uneven movie. I feel like the tone is all over the place. I feel like the pacing is all over the place. Like the pacing goes from just like really, really relaxed and lackadaisical to like, and suddenly we've like been to 3 locations in 5 minutes and we're like globetrotting, and then we're back to being really slow and taking in the surroundings and having a really quiet moment with these characters, and then we're globetrotting again, and oh my god, action sequence. And I don't know, Dragon, like pacing issues like that, kind of like it's one of those things, like, how much mixed tone fucks with me when it comes to a movie, Dragon, and pacing issues are another thing that just really like if a movie's not paced well, it just really kind of takes me out of it. And the Missing Link is, I mean, it's really not paced well, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Kubo, I feel like, was kind of a masterclass of pacing. I mean, Kubo did everything right in that regard. It had the opening prologue, which established everything. It had kind of like establishing the character's day-to-day routine and kind of showing off his powers in a cool exposition scene with a storytelling sequence. It established the villains right away. We got into the journey very quickly. Throughout the journey, there was a really good even mix of adventure and character building. You know what I mean? Kubo is a very even movie when it comes to the pace and the action beats contrasted against the character beats. And I don't know, man, Missing Link, it feels like it was rushed or something. I feel like they maybe could have used a second pass at the screenplay. Maybe Monkey knows more about the development than I do. Maybe the production on it was literally rushed. I don't know, man. It's just, at the end of the day, it's kind of a shame because, it's great stop motion. You got some wonderful character work in there. You've got some good action set pieces. But at the end of the day, Dragon, this is not a movie I'm going to be looking forward to rewatching like Kubo. I mean, Kubo was a movie I couldn't wait to go back and see in theaters, Dragon. Kubo was the, as you know, Dragon, there's always one movie of each year that I kind of find myself drawn towards and just being like, oh my God, that was an experience. I need to go back and just relive and be in that world over and over and over again. And I got to tell you, Dragon, for the year that Kubo came out, that was that movie. Of course, 2017, we had Coco. 2018, we had Into the Spider-Verse.
But 2016, man, Kubo was that kind of like escapist, just like I went to see Kubo like 3 times in theaters just to really soak it in and appreciate it. And with Missing Link, I just feel like Missing Link just feels just inconsequential in comparison, Dragon. I mean, I got to tell you, man, it's not a bad movie, and it's not nearly as bad as what I'm going to compare it to. But in terms of just like the quality of it compared to literally everything else in Leica, it's kind of a Cars 2. I mean, it's not nearly as bad as Cars 2, but I'm just saying, like, all of Leica's other films are like these flawless works of art with like super airtight pacing and, you know, just incredible world building and incredible storytelling. And then Missing Link is just kind of there. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it's got a lot of inherent just screenwriting flaws in it. And I don't know, man. It was just a letdown for me, for sure.
This is all terrible news for me.
Yeah, you might end up really liking it, Dragon. Because I do feel like it'd be up your alley, especially with the Hugh Jackman dynamic with Zach Galifianakis and everything. I mean, you know, don't go in like expecting to hate it or anything. It's a good movie. It's just not nearly to the level of something like Coraline.
But really, it's like, you tell me Box Trolls is better than this?
Yes, I would say Box Trolls is better than this. Yeah, because Box Trolls has more of an emotional through line in it. Box Trolls kind of has more of an identity. Box Trolls kind of knows what it wants to be more than this movie does.
All right.
You know, Paranorman, definitely better than this movie. Kubo, of course, is the big benchmark. Like, that was like almost like my it's sad, Dragon, because Kubo was like my gateway drug.
Hey, I know. You don't have to read. I know Kubo, man. Kubo was phenomenal. I love Kubo.
And now I feel like my gateway drug is being cut off, man. I feel like my supply is being cut off now. Like, I legitimately don't know how Leica is going to survive Missing Link.
Yeah, because of course they came out the worst time against Endgame, which is not going to help like get them more. Because of course Leica's just kind of going film to film right now. It would seem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Next one.
Okay, Justice League versus the Fatal Five. All right, so this film, this is the one of the DC original animated movies that was released, and it's not a continuity film. It's it's not one of like the new 52 continuity films they've been releasing. It's it's like kind of Bruce Timm was back in the saddle. He it was in his art style. Basically, it looks like it could be fit into one of the Justice League animated series episodes, or Unlimited, whichever you want to put it under. The point is, it was. It's just basically them as the Justice League going up against like the Legion of Superheroes bad guys, the Fatal Five, and the Legion of Superheroes. The idea is like in the distant future, like years and years in the future. After even after Superman's gone. Like the next generation of superheroes, like the Justice League of the Future forms, they all have like these special rings that allow them to fly. Like on Supergirl right now, they have the Legion of Superheroes. The point being, it's like it's a neat little team. Like it's kind of a niche book. I think people really like it. It has a cult following, the Legion of Superheroes. It's like there's a Superman the animated series episode with them. So basically, that's like Bruce Timm has had like a little bit of a love for these guys, and they introduced them way back when during Superman the animated series, and they're just kind of waiting for an excuse to bring them back. They did one Superman episode and one Justice League episode. Now they're doing like another kind of project here they've been really waiting to get to. And it's really the best way I can put this one, Tiki, is that this movie's okay.
So it's like Missing Link.
Look, again, I haven't seen Missing Link, but yeah, I was really jealous that you got to see Missing Link too, because again, I was like, oh man, if I'm going to make a choice here, because right now the theaters are sparse, and he was like, Hellboy or Missing Link, and I had a duty to Hellboy and Missing Link. I mean, it's a Leica movie, and I had Hugh Jackman and saying, but I was sold on the premise of Missing Link. The point being, based on what you've said about it, it sounds like it's a little better than that, but I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's still a Leica movie, so it's probably better, but I don't know. Anyway, let me put it this way: Justice League versus Fatal Five, it's perfectly okay. It's not as good as I hoped it would be. And there we got to remember again, you're saying like we're going back to the Justice League. Well, that's a big deal. That's a big thing. So I think it was an expectation issue. But I think everyone is, from what I hear, everyone's kind of having the same problem. Is that the movie again? Everyone was so sold on the movie because oh my God, Bruce, we're turning back to something that could basically way better than what we saw with Batman and Harley Quinn. Basically, this is supposed to be the better version of a Batman Harley Quinn situation, where we're going to have kind of go back to the well of that universe with the look and everything, kind of do some new stuff with this. That was kind of the promise of this movie. And it was cool revisiting the Justice League style, for sure. And it was neat seeing the Legion characters return. And, of course, seeing the bad guys, which you've never really seen done. And, because there was an animated series called Legion of Superheroes, but again, it wasn't Bruce Timm doing it. But basically, this movie feels like a two-part episode. It feels like a two-parter for the Justice League show, which, again, is befitting. That's not a bad thing. But here's the cool thing. The premise of the movie is we follow two of our main characters are Jessica Cruz, who's a Green Lantern, female Green Lantern, who's really neat, kind of really liking, and kind of especially seeing it done in that Bruce Timm Justice League style. It's really cool to kind of see this Green Lantern. And we have Starboy, one of the Legionnaires, one of the Legion of Superhero guys. And they both basically the movie examines and destigmatizes mental illness through these two characters, because these two characters they have I forget if Starboy is always, I'm pretty sure Starboy is always written this way. I can't remember what the deal with Jessica Cruz. Jessica Cruz has PTSD and depression, and I can't remember. Starboy is I don't know if it's paranoid schizophrenia, but he has schizophrenia and something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. The point being, these are characters, they're kind of destigmatizing, because classically in comics, you have usually when you think mental illness, you think of the Arkham characters. You think, okay, we have a Batman villain, may be sympathetic, but there's obviously something that went wrong there. So they're kind of showing it from the hero's perspective. So that's kind of neat. And that's kind of a noble thing they're kind of doing in the story there. And again, these characters, they're kind of the most compelling parts of the movie. So they're doing really good character-wise. But beyond the characters, everything's a little bit standard, but with really good action. All the action set pieces, all the action stuff's really cool.
Uh-huh.
That's really what it is. It's not a letdown, just not the sell I'd hoped for.
It's not I'm sure it didn't have any soul crushing moments like Batman Harley Quinn did.
No, there's kind of an uncomfortable bit at the start, but it's not bad. That's the thing. There's kind of an uncomfortable scene at the very start, but it is linked to Batman oddly enough. But it's
oh god,
they didn't botch Batman, but it's there's Starboy, there's kind of a weird nude scene at the start of it, and with Starboy, it's just kind of strange. But it's really it's weird, but it's not it's not out of character. It's just he happens to be nude during the scene. But again, it's not like a whole Harley Quinn Nightwing sort of thing.
Yes.
The point being, it's not as egregious as the farting in the Batmobile bit.
Oh god,
that's still, to me, that's heresy, that bit. But anyway. I could say, again, that's worse than everything in Batman and Robin for me personally.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Anyway, so the point being, so this movie again, it's not a letdown. Just it's not what the sell I'd hope to see. It's the non, it's kind of for the non-Legion crowd. Like for example, you Tiki, just kind of anyone who doesn't knows nothing about the Legion of Superheroes. I don't think. Again, I think it'll be sold in those characters, but not you'll know nothing about the Legion of Superheroes. That's kind of the issue.
Yeah, it's definitely not one that I'm hey, I gotta check that one out.
And that's the problem. I was hoping it was going to be that. There was one really great scene in Arkham Asylum, one wonderful scene, but I don't want to spoil it if you ever do watch, for anyone who ever does watch. There's this one really good scene in Arkham Asylum. I love the pieces, but anyway. Okay, so Billy vs. Fail File, we got that one. So anything else for the current 2019 stuff?
No, I think we're good. Let's switch to rewind mode, Dragon. This is going to be mostly where you take over. I've got a couple entries on this list, but you're going to do the lion's share of the talking here.
Yes, but I get to surprise you on a few things here, folks.
You do.
Not. Basically, Tiki's been hounding me to watch a couple things, and I did watch. I actually was able to watch a couple of them, and he doesn't know which ones though. So we're going to see. I'm going to surprise him here on the first one, the second one. The second one's going to be more. Well, we'll get there when we get there. So the first
I'm
one.
excited, Dragon. I'm excited. Hit me.
Okay, so all right, so and I try to get this as chronologically as when I watch them for the most part. So anyway, first off, the Black Klansman.
Oh, okay, nice.
So I was finally able to watch the Black Klansman, which of course was nominated for the Oscar, and finally kind of found its way to HBO recently. So I was finally able to watch that. Of course, the Spike Lee movie. And here's the thing: I feel Black Klansman. It's a cinematic biopic with a story to tell. And of course, I know there's some liberties taken, and they're fully acknowledging, like, yeah, basically all the liberties taken are still based on real things. They're just kind of like made a little bit more cinematic and kind of like they put it in the same year. So essentially, everything, for the most part, everything but Adam Driver's character happens. Adam Driver's character, like giving a face to the guy, that's the main thing they kind of did for cinematic personally. We give it a
character was like one of the more compelling points of the movie, though.
That's the thing, but the point's like that. I believe that guy exists, but they don't have a name on because they had to destroy the files and everything.
Right,
so
right.
The point being they made it a little bit more of a personal character than just kind of a nameless guy in the organization. That's a fine to me. That's fine. Just kind of fudging of the details. The point's I think it's more accurate than it's giving itself credit for. Is what I'm getting. But anyway, so on the whole, without getting into the whole film, it's like I love John David Washington, if I'm getting his name right. John David Washington, who's Denzel Washington's son. I thought he did an excellent job. He had a lot of great screen presence. I loved him. You know, Ron, I'm blanking on the last name, but you know, the Walt. Anyway, the point being, it's water something, but it's something with a W. But stalwart or something. Stalwart. Sorry, I'm botched. It's been a while, folks. But the point being, John David Washington's character is great. You know, our main character, Ron Stallworth. I'm pretty sure it's Ron Stallworth and Adam Driver. They were delightful. It's got a great cast.
Topher Grace, you're never going to look at Topher Grace the same way again.
Topher Grace is our big bad guy. And there was a familiar face I saw in the movie as as kind of our introductory point. I was really surprised to see him. And Ryan Eggold, he played the guy with the mustache that kind of gets him into the Klan. That guy, the first guy he calls. Really, kind of the sane man of the bunch of the Klan that he meets. That guy, he's really good in the Blacklist and everything. I love that guy. Actually. He's on a show now called it's not The Resident, but it's one of those new medical shows. I think it's Code Black. I think it's that's the one, Code Black. Anyway, so overall, it's a really clever undercover thriller. You know, it's you know, the performances are wonderful. I have one problem with the movie. One, it's a big one, but it's one that doesn't affect the movie, but it's one problem. I think you can kind of sense what it is. So, movie's good. Love the movie.
Yes.
Problem is this, and again, of course, I know I'm going to skirt around some stuff here, but the point being, I feel we get a little in the movie itself, I think we get a little distracted in a few spots, but it's solid. Like nothing's wrong with it. I think like the whole the love the girlfriend subplot, like that's fine. It's just like
I agree. The girlfriend subplot, like it could have been written out of the movie and nothing would have changed. I'll agree with you there.
Like it's like nothing wrong with it, but it's just like I think it gets a little off focus and we keep cutting back and forth between it sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like, where does he find the time to be with the girl and be on the mission? I don't really get it. Like, was he getting out of it? But then it's fine. But here's the thing that bugs me though. Okay, so I think the movie, again, even with that caveat in there, the whole film, I'm loving the film. I love the film up until the very end. When we basically
okay. This is tread lightly here. Tread lightly.
Tiki, it's me. Of course, I'm going to tread lightly. It's me.
Yeah.
Point being, look, up until the very end, I'm loving the movie, but I think it's when Spike Lee basically we reveal it's kind of. I think Spike Lee basically it's almost like he did the whole film.
Spike Lee's never been a subtle director, Dragon.
And that's what I'm getting at is I think Spike Lee, in a way, like he did a really great film. See, I think he did the film so good so he could buy up all this credibility for like the last couple minutes of the movie. That's kind of what it reads as to be. Where look, I'm not arguing politics right now. All I'm going to say is it just feels uneven to me. We have a movie and then we kind of tack on something that's really not so subtle. Where Spike Lee has an agenda. That's all I'll say about it. So Spike Lee has seems to have a pointed agenda. Built again, it's not really hinted at through the movie. I mean, again, maybe it's thematically in there a little bit, but the point being, like, it's nothing that really is in the movie, and we build up all this credibility thematically, like what the movie's about, you know, the whole Klansman aspect of it, all that, and we get to the very end where basically Spike is kind of spelling out really broadly, but using actual footage and stuff, just like saying, "This is my agenda." It's like, Spike Lee, did you really have to do that? I mean, it's not the movie though. It just feels. I mean, aside from
again, like I'm of two minds about it because on one point, like I do agree with you. It is kind of like it is a little on the nose, but by the same point, I mean, I don't really necessarily have that much of a problem with it because it is kind of just spelling out, like, yeah, in case you missed it, this is
what's going on.
What I was alluding to, you know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's just doing such a good job being clever about it. Where, you know, like now we're just like, I did such a good job, folks. In case you didn't get it, for the non-listeners of the audience, here's what I'm saying. And that feels like a cheap move for Spike Lee, where he did such a good job. Up to that. Anyway, I mean, with the exception of, again, the Topher Grace character being in that last minute, that's where we do kind of a bit of a real life link up there. With the exception of that, I mean, there's no point to seeing that at the end. Without him being there, there's absolutely no point seeing that ending to me, again, aside from just like we're connecting dots there. Where, again, I'm not saying it's not related. I'm just saying that it just feels really like, okay, we're being a little too on the nose there at the very end. I mean, here's the thing, if it was in the middle, it would have been a major problem. But if it was, keep it at the very end, so it's like I can't really complain about it too much. It's just like, I don't know. It feels off to me, and basically, like, even like the very last image of the movie feels like, okay, I think a little obvious on the symbolism here. Okay, but anyway, the point being, he put enough in the bank, so I mean, he earned it. So it's his movie. He did a good job with it. So I won't make any major complaints. Just like, yeah, it's very inspiring. I think a little too vocal. I don't know. All right, this next one though, I think you're gonna like even more so.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, Searching.
Oh yes, this one was great.
Yeah,
what do you think of Searching?
I loved this.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I loved Searching so much. It was one of the best.
Isn't it good?
It is. It's this compelling mystery shot brilliantly. It's just shot so brilliantly.
I mean, it's almost kind of like a game changer of editing, Dragon. It's almost like I feel like all other attempts to show social media and to show the internet on film before this movie have just been like warm-ups for this.
This editing and camera work, literally camera work, because again, we're using like everything is shot through essentially a webcam and whatever camera you have built into a device. So again, that's really impressive and also really hard to shoot. But again, that's something to praise it for. It's just, this film, it's brilliant. It's a great mystery piece. John Cho.
You love the married life stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, that was wonderful too. Yeah, is it John Chow or John?
The married life stuff is that in addition to being an evolution of a family, it also is kind of the evolution of the internet.
I love the evolution of the technology within.
Yeah.
It's kind of married life via computer, and of course,
right.
It hits me in the nostalgia too, because seeing the evolution of the computer and the technology in the background, like the old Windows thing and all that stuff, like that was. I love. So let me. I forget, is it John Chow or John Cho?
John Chow.
John Chow, good. I love his
Chow. No, I think it's John Cho. Actually, I'm sorry.
Way to just leave me out there. Okay, so John. Whose point is John Cho? John Cho, he's wonderful. Of course, I think famously John Cho. The most current thing will probably be Sulu from the Star Trek movies. Again, I think the most famous thing will probably be what is it? Is it Harold?
Or
which one?
Specifically Harold. He specifically plays Harold of Harold and Kumar fame.
Yeah. But he was hungry for White Castle.
Oh God!
No. Sorry, it's a dumb, obscure reference. Point being, John Cho, he is wonderful. He's this great, sympathetic dad playing detective in a way. I think it's great. It's a really smart commentary, not only on social media but also parents relating to their children. It's a really great, compelling movie. It has some amazing twists and turns and suspects along the way. Again, I love that. I love how we show, again, it's kind of like the Wreck-It Ralph territory here, but kind of expanded upon for an entire film here. We showed the internet bites back, man. It bites back hard against David Kim, against our John Cho character, and in some really harsh ways, but also it holds the key to finding his daughter Margot. Against his father, it's kind of like Taken via computer, but with less action, less like Liam Neeson just kind of beating the crap out of people. It's kind of the non-violent version of Taken via computer. It's kind of what it is, and in a good way. And I love, it's I can't say enough nice things about the movie. I don't want to get too into it because I don't want to just go through all the twists and turns and stuff. But also, Deborah Messing, she's
like, I'd be totally down to do like a podcast on it, like a standalone podcast at some point.
At some point, sure. But the point is, like, Searching was absolutely delightful. It was one of the highlights of the catch-up stuff. Like this and one other thing are vying for the top spot. But we'll see how that ends up a little bit later on. Okay, moving on. So this other thing, T, you guys want to make sure here. You have also seen the next movie we're going to talk about, right?
Yes, if it's the third thing on the list.
Yes. Yeah, it's the third thing on the list. Okay, just want to make sure that's why I put it there. Okay, so let's talk about. So again, we want to go through stuff that you and I both seen before we get into stuff, and vice versa here. So, W.
Yeah, I saw W once when it first came out. I don't honestly remember a ton about it. I remember Josh Brolin being good in the role.
So here's the thing: I always keep meaning to watch W. And the only thing I've only seen one scene in W. I saw the arrest scene. Well, basically the Harvard. Sorry, it was Harvard or whatever college he got into. I think it was Harvard. That scene where he wants to get the fisticuffs with Bush Senior. That's the only scene I saw from W. And I've always after that scene, I was like, oh man, it looks really good. And Josh Brolin seems really neat in that movie. I kept meaning to come back to it. So I just never did until. Again, so Vice comes out, and then of course when we're talking about Vice, I believe you brought up a little bit of W there. And of course, with Endgame coming out, a little bit of Josh Brolin, a little bit of citing of W, and kind of like, okay, you know what? And it happened to be on Netflix. You know what? I'm going to watch W. I watched W, and man, I was blown away by it. I thought it was. I think it's a great one. I think it's a great companion piece to Vice. If you've seen Vice, I think you're really going to like this movie because basically it's kind of like Vice from the opposite perspective. It's kind of Vice from Bush's perspective versus from Cheney's perspective of that movie. It's got an A-list cast, and basically, on the whole, it's like this is Oliver Stone. Of course, the big filmmaker himself, Oliver Stone, like basically the pretentious guy in the Spielberg in the cinematic. I keep blanking on the stupid blanking on the name. The New Hollywood Renaissance. What's the new director's name?
The New Hollywood.
The New Hollywood, yes. The points like of the New Hollywood gang, Oliver Stone's kind of the pretentious one of the group, like the overeager, like, come on, Steven, let me do stuff. More so with Brian De Palma on Scarface. Come on, Brian, let me do stuff. Like, no, Oliver, go to your corner. But no, Oliver Stone, he's a great director. The thing I remember most from Oliver Stone that correlates to this beautifully is I saw him do Nixon. So Nixon was the big presidential biopic that he had done before. That's when he really made his bones on. So this is another entry for him with a presidential biopic. And the guy he's kind of the king of the presidential biopic, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's been that way for quite a while now, like ever since JFK, like since we were little kids, Dragon. Yeah, he's held that claim for a long time.
I'm saying, of course, forget the obvious example, JFK, but yes, you're absolutely right, yeah.
JFK, Nixon.
My grandfather loves the Nixon movie, too. That's why I keep going to Nixon first. But the point being, it's and yeah, I think I just want to give him all the. I'd love to see what he does with like all the presidential biopics. Maybe not every single one, like not the early ones. Let's say all the good ones, all the big ones. Maybe honestly all the future ones too. I'd love to see Oliver Stone just kind of checks in now and see what's. I mean, that's like in political, without naming names here. Let's see, politics. So let's see some like current presidents. Go like maybe the last two presidents. Let's see movies about them. Might be interesting. I don't know. Oliver Stone's hands. I never know. Anyway, so off of that onto this. Josh Brolin in the movie, he's great. He and James Cromwell as Bush Senior, they're wonderful together. One of my favorites is in this movie, Tiki. Stacy Keach. Stacy Keach is in this movie. He plays the father, I guess. He plays the God, I forget what his specific religious title is. He's the religious component. He's the like the priest, or who basically Bush kind of becomes a little bit born again. He becomes a very what we show in this movie through Stacy Keach's character, the priest character, let's call him, I guess. He brings about. I got to see something. You always hear about Bush, but it's something you never really got. I never knew like quite the impact it had on this movie. Kind of illuminated that okay, there is quite a religious component to him, and it's interesting. And this is how it kind of complements Vice, because in Vice we have the big defining moment, the big moment of change for our character. In Vice, it's Amy Adams having her moment with Cheney. It's the big moment where she shakes him and she says, like, "Okay, look, you got a big decision to make. Are you the man I want to be with?" And he changes his life and he becomes Dick Cheney. And here it's Bush kind of like you kind of drying up and kind of swearing off the alcohol, and he's kind of taking a straight and narrow for religious reasons. He's kind of born again in that regard. In that regard, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Right. Also, Scott Glenn. The boys. Anyways, there's a lot of great actors in the movie. We got Toby Jones, Scott Glenn. I think the critics a little too harsh on it, but again, I'd recommend the movie heavily, especially if you're on a Josh Brolin kick after Infinity War and Endgame. It's it's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I mean, like I said, I the funny thing is, Dragon, I saw it once in theaters, and that one time was literally for homework, like extra credit, like, hey, it's, it was a government class, right? And so it's like, hey, go see W and write a report on it. And I'm like, all right, why not?
I just love that what Stone does, kind of what we do with Nixon here, is that it's a man. Again, we have a it's almost like I don't want to say it's like in a political sense, but let's just say it's kind of like a sympathy for the devil's story. And
Uh-huh.
again, I'm not saying that politically. I'm just saying that's kind of what kind of story it is, where you have sympathy for a character who's kind of maligned in many opinions. And what we have here is that
Opposite of the Wolf of Wall Street, where the Wolf of Wall Street was kind of like just like it wasn't necessarily sympathy, you know, by any means. The Wolf of Wall Street kind of like held a mirror up to the debauchery, but it celebrated it at the same time.
that's the thing. It's kind of a line between mirror and sympathy.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we do here is it's kind of a man thrown into, and again, what we even see in the Vice movie a little bit, and that's kind of what the Bush story is. It's a man thrown into into politics with a legacy behind it. Who again, basically, what we kind of have by the end of the movie is he's a guy who tried. He really did try at a certain point. Again, after he sobered up, he's like, he tried, he gave it his best shot, and again, there's a lot of scrutiny that came down on him, but at the end of the day, he was kind of a figurehead in his own organization. And he kind of is stuck with a lot of the blame for things where, again, he tried, but again, the thing, it was a bigger animal than he was. So again, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so Dragon, Easter Sunday, I got the chance to see for the first time in my life Singing in the Rain on the big screen. And let me tell you, man, that was a treat for sure. Obviously. I mean, it's like, how could it not be? Here's the thing, Dragon. Here's the thing. I got to be honest with you. Hot take here.
Oh boy.
Singing in the Rain led to La La Land, all right? Singing in the Rain blazed a trail to La La Land. La La Land is a movie that has a lot more weight behind it, I will say. It's got a lot more kind of like, it makes me think a lot more. You know what I mean? It's got a lot more, you know, and for lack of a better term, it brings the feels. But Singing in the Rain is just a great, like, it's pure popcorn entertainment, though. You know what I mean? It's I mean, the dance numbers are absolutely fantastic. This is my first real exposure to Gene Kelly outside of Gene Kelly dancing with Tom and Jerry and stuff like that. I don't know. It's a very, very, very fun movie, Dragon. It's, and I don't want to discount it at all. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't want to say I walked away being like, oh my God, that's one of like my new favorite classic movies ever. But it's very, very solid, of course. It's got a great color palette to it. It's just shot immaculately. The performances and the dances and the choreography are just on point. That big Broadway sequence, which is like 14 minutes long, was just
dance.
Yeah, that was crazy creative, and that's absolutely like I totally get how that inspired La La Land's epilogue. Dragon, at the end of the day, though, La La Land is the movie that has my heart and not Singing in the Rain.
Boy, I do not share that opinion at all.
I know you don't.
But let me ask you this though, because you finally seen again. When we did that big Batman pitch, I kept telling you like the thing. My wish list thing for the Joker is him killing people to make him laugh. But now you've seen Make Him Laugh. You see what I'm talking about, though, right?
Oh, I mean, I already knew about Make Him Laugh. Like I've seen that on like AFI specials and stuff like that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But of course, seeing the Singing in the Rain sequence in context with everything, it gives you a little special feeling, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, it's a magical movie, and it's definitely like old school, like golden age of Hollywood. And like I said, everything technically is just super on point, and the characters are written well and everything. But La La Land was an experience, man. I mean, La La Land, just that movie, I still look back on that movie to this day, and I just I know it's like I hate that La La Land has become so politicized, and it's basically like La La Land is the white people movie and Moonlight is the black people movie. I hate that.
That Oscars group did not help that situation.
I know it didn't. Obviously, it didn't. But I don't know. It's like I guess I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting Singing in the Rain to be maybe like to have a little bit more dramatic heft behind it, maybe.
And I know that's unfair to say, but like, I don't know. La La Land is just a movie that just absolutely like touched me on a very core human fundamental level. And Singing in the Rain was just kind of a very incredibly enjoyable, top-notch, incredibly well-produced, fun time. And ultimately, at the end of the day, though they are both wonderful movies, I got to go with my heart and go with the one that really, really made me feel something deep and powerful. And that movie was La La Land.
Okay, Phil. Okay, a couple things. First off, again, no one's asking you to pick between them. Secondly, look, for me, like Singing in the Rain. Look, I'll say this for you, Tiki, if we're gonna compare them. Look, I may like La La Land way more than Moonlighting, but I'll tell you this much: I'd be more likely to go to Sing in the Rain before I go back to La La Land. Better than Moonlighting, but not exactly rewatchable in my opinion. I don't know. It's not bad. It's
I think La La Land obviously for me is incredibly rewatchable, but
sure. Anyway. But I mean, again, Sing in the Rain. The cool thing about it for me, really, upon the rewatch, I think it was just it's a lot of fun with it. Is I love the old school Hollywood, the big transition in Hollywood, how it reflects that. Again, like you were going from the silence to the talkies, and of course we're doing that thematically in the whole movie with the whole again, it's a musical movie, and we're kind of exploring that through this great.
No, I mean, I got all that, Dragon. I got all the Hollywood historical significance in that. That's all great. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, at the end of the day, it just comes down to a taste thing, and I prefer my movies with a little bit more pathos. I'm not saying that Singing in the Rain isn't a classic. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be like on a pedestal of like one of the greatest movies of all time, because in terms of like sheer craftsmanship and cinematography and choreography, and
That Gene Kelly's got boyish charm for days.
I mean, he does absolutely, no question, and it makes me want to seek out other Gene Kelly movies for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But all right. Any other like pressing questions you have for me about it, Dragon? Any other things you want to pick my brain about?
Well, I mean, I got it. I mean, I know there's one scene, but it's been a while, so I want to make sure it's. I mean, okay, if I say the ladder scene, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
He and Debbie, he and Debbie Reynolds, the ladder scene, they're singing to each other, ringing the bells.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay, because I bring that because it's in a movie that I really want you to watch one of these days. It's in The Intern. I love The Intern.
Oh God. Okay.
Again, that is Pleasantries the movie. It is.
I know it is. I know. That's how you told it. I get it.
It has that scene in it. It's really.
All right.
Okay. Anyways, look, I won't waste time just grilling you about Singing the Rain. Let's just move on.
I mean, again, it's like maybe it's one of those things where it's like if I see it a couple more times, I'll be like, oh wait, no, this is like clearly like far superior to La La Land. But I don't, Dragon. And again, I'm not one of those people that like grades on a bias when it comes to time. Like, frankly, it's like I'm one of those people where it's like modern filmmaking has more of an effect on me because it has more of like, I mean, it's like The Social Network is a movie that obviously like could not be made before Facebook was a thing and could not be made before Facebook was a sensation. But The Social Network for me is like one of the most riveting stories of human drama that I've ever seen put to film. I mean, it's like everything about The Social Network just fits together so well. And you get what I mean. It's like I am not someone who lets like I personally like I love modern filmmaking. Like I don't like Singing in the Rain. It's a classic, iconic movie, so therefore it's gotta be one of the goats of all time. And it's like it's really good. It's really good. I wasn't entirely blown away by it though. I got to admit, I wasn't blown away by it as much as I thought I would be. I thought it would be like one of my new favorite movies. And, while I liked it a lot and I appreciated the craftsmanship, it's definitely not one of my new favorite movies.
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay, so for me, this is the other thing that really blew my socks off with the ketchup. Kane Hodder to Hell and Back. This was a riveting documentary. I've rewatched this thing
Greg, with
after.
all these documentaries, can you just give me the lowdown on where to find them?
Sure. Okay, so Kane Hodder to Hell and Back is on Amazon.
Okay.
It says 2018, so I imagine this thing is kind of under the radar. Maybe I don't know if they just put it up and it was released last year, or if it just came out last year and I just didn't know about it. But this thing, oh my god, this thing's great, and this thing's really up your alley because basically, for me, this was a companion piece. For you, I suggest this, because especially given you don't have all the time in the world, but it's this is This was an absolute treat because I had gotten finished watching me, because I love documentaries on horror. I can't watch horror movies like slasher horror movies, but I'll watch the documentaries of them all live long day, because there's like the 4-hour Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, and then there's the thing I watched like not too far back, Crystal Lake Memories, which is based on the book that kind of anthologizes basically goes through all the Friday the 13th movies, all the Jason movies. And they made a documentary like the Never Sleep Again thing with Freddy Krueger on it. So again, it goes through all the movies, which is even longer. It's like 13. It's essentially 12 movies and a TV series. So again, that's an even longer documentary. It's like, I believe, 7 hours, I think. Mm-hmm. Point being, after watching that, and of course even after some of the other Jason stuff, the point being, I've seen Kane Hodder in this thing, so I've seen a little bit. I've got like kind of the clip-ins. I know what his favorite kill is. I've seen the guy like now and again. And him talking about the role, because he gets into he wasn't there since the very beginning, but he was there from like I think it's like the 6th movie onward. 6th movie, but not the whole Freddy versus Jason thing, because they recast him. People are mad about that. I don't blame them. Here's the thing. So this movie, I knew very little about Kane Hodder based on that. So I find this thing. Okay, I know Kane Hodder is another horror thing. It's feature length. I'll give this a watch. And oh my god, Kane Hodder has a fascinatingly compelling story. And I rewatched this twice, like after watching it the first. I was like, oh my god, this thing's it's just a lot of fun. It's not fun, it's just compelling. It's that this is a story of a man who's become this scary slasher icon. And we learned in his life, he was bullied, and he went through a literal hell as a burn victim. Again, Kane Hodder was very famously, and you kind of see it in him during the interviews. The guy had some serious burns that he still kind of has some skin grafts from. I mean, it was a nasty business. I won't tell you exactly how it happens, and it's a harrowing, compelling story, and that's the beginning. That's like Act 1 of this. It's not really broken into acts, but it's like on the beginning, like all this stuff. We hit the bullying and we hit the burn victim stuff early in the movie, and the burn victim stuff. Oh god, it's. Overall, he's a really cool guy. He's really likable, and all that said, he's just all these things. He's just one tough SOB who's just gone so far in life. It's a really tough. I don't know if I can say feel, because again, it's harrowing stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my god, it's just so informative, and so like it's just fascinating. And basically, if you can't sit down and watch like the Crystal Lake Memories, I'd recommend you go with this at least. This is like an hour and maybe an hour and 30 minutes, hour 40 tops. I mean, rip away the credits. It's probably a little less. Boy, I'd recommend this thing highly. So this is the best documentary I saw. This.
Okay, you sold me on it, Dragon. I'll definitely have to seek it out.
All right.
Okay. All right. Is it back around to me again?
Yes, it's back around to you with the other thing you got.
Okay, let me see. The Kid and Kid, or I'm sorry, I was going to say the Kid and Kid. The Kid Would Be King. Dragon, this was delightful.
Had a good director on. Had Sean Levy.
Dragon, I don't want to say it's like a fantastic, like, oh my god, this is a game changer of a movie or anything like that, but I don't even really have that much to say about it. But what I like about it is it was a breath of fresh air. Like, it's an all British cast, so it's like all these kids have very unique looks to them, and we haven't seen them in a ton of things before, and they're all very fresh, and I feel like they have very clear and established identities. There's essentially like two main hero kids and two bully kids who get pulled into this Arthurian quest with Patrick Stewart Merlin, who's awesome, by the way. But I don't know. I really dug these kid actors, Dragon. I really dug the dynamic. How the bullies and the heroes kind of have to work together to get out of this situation, and
It's just, I don't know, like it's a really nice, just kind of like lay back and sort of it's a nice time killer. You know what I mean? It's like it's not going to win any awards or anything. It's not going to be in my top 20 movies of the year or anything like that. But it surprised the heck out of me, man. I did enjoy it quite a lot. The villain is pretty lame. The villain is just kind of like this evil chick named Morgana, and she just kind of like, I don't know. She feels like something out of the Power Rangers or something. She feels very Rita Repulsa-esque.
Wait, let me get this straight. So it was Morgana, not Morgan Le Fay?
In the movie, they literally just call her Morgana. So
it's interesting because traditionally it's supposed to be Morgan. Well, I mean, it might be the same difference. Sorry, go on, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And it's like all the Arthurian legend stuff is handled like okay, but it's kind of just by the same point. It's kind of just your typical like chosen one hero's journey kind of stuff. With Merlin is that kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi figure. It's, you know, it's an all right time, Dragon. It's an all right time. I will say this much. It's, I like this one a lot better than I liked A House with a Clock in Its Walls. And that's a movie where I felt like based on its first act and the setup and, you know, Jack Black and how he was playing this character and everything, I was very optimistic about House with a Clock in Its Walls based on the first act, and then by the end it just kind of fizzled out, and I just wasn't really left with much of an impression of that movie outside of a decent setup in the first act. And this, I got to say, kind of fulfills it a little bit more. It's like there isn't anything like super compelling about it, but it's just a nice watch, you know what I mean? And like I said, I think the thing I like about it the most is that these kids just feel like real kids, and they don't feel like movie stars at all. And they've got kind of like a rough around the edges kind of look to them. And it's just nice to see that in a movie, Dragon. It really is. It's nice to see like, you know, kids who don't look like little freaking model movie stars. You know what I mean? It's like these kids are very realistic as they're going on their little Arthurian adventure. It's, you know, like I said, Dragon, this movie is not going to break new ground or anything. It's, you know, it's not going to like, oh my God, like this is some crazy masterpiece, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I saw it.
Okay.
All right.
So, the other movie, basically the rest of its documentaries from this point forward, with the exception of this one I'm about to talk about right now. I'm going to try to blow through the documentaries, but basically, there was a movie I saw called The Dream Team. Now, The Dream Team was a movie released in 1989. And this was this basically the same year Keaton did. Michael Keaton. It's a Michael Keaton movie. So Michael Keaton's in this film. He's one of the leads in it, and it's basically this is the other movie he did in '89. That's kind of the fun thing about it.
Oh.
So this movie, it's kind of an ensemble cast. The Dream Team, as it's called is 4 mental patients. You have Michael Keaton, who's kind of there temporarily. Yeah, he's anger issues, so he's kind of thrown in there because he got in trouble. Peter Boyle, who's a regular, he's kind of a religious nut. The idea, I believe he thinks he's Jesus. I think that's his thing. He thinks he's not God. He thinks he's Jesus. I'm pretty sure. And point being, he thinks he's a religious guy. You have Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd's great. He's I believe it's a little bit OCD, but mainly he thinks he's a doctor. He thinks he's a doctor in the place. He thinks he's keeping an eye on the other patients where he himself is also a patient. He has a family and everything. Christopher Lloyd's really good in this movie. And you have Stephen Furst, you know, the voice of Booster from Buzz Lightyear Star Command, and of course famously from Animal House. He's in this as kind of the his thing is that he can only speak in baseball. I know it's kind of it's a little hard to decipher there, but basically he can only speak. He's I guess he was traumatized at a baseball game, so he can only communicate via baseball statistics or slang or things, and that's things kind of hard for him to verbalize, and that's kind of what they try to help him through in the movie. So that's kind of what we have. And he witnesses some stuff. It's like he can't tell him because he can't say anything aside from like home run, home base, sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea, the really ingenious premise. So, so again, these guys from a New Jersey mental institution. They, they're patients who have a really kind doctor, and their doctor wants to take them to New York, wants to take them to Yankee Stadium again with the one who has the baseball fixation. Let me take my guys from my group therapy class. I'm going to take them, going to give them a socialize, take them into the outside world on a field trip here. And again, kind of get some more, kind of outdoor therapy with them or something. And along the way, while they're heading to the baseball game, they're heading to Yankee Stadium. They kind of stop to use the restroom, and basically, as this happens, the doctor witnesses a murder by James Remar. James Remar's in this movie as a murderer. And the James Remar basically, they see the doctor witnessing the murder, so they beat the doctor within an inch of his life, and they don't know that Stephen first witnesses this because he had the nonverbal thing, because he had to use the bathroom, and the doctors kind of showed him they went to a back alley to do it. So the point is where they witness everything. So doctor gets beaten within an inch of his life, and he's taken away by an ambulance. Basically, the rest of the patients and Stephen first can't tell him what happened because he can't verbalize it. So it's like, where's the doctor? What happened? We're stuck in the van. The van gets towed. So it's like these 4 mental patients are kind of roaming New York for the majority of the movie, and Michael Keaton being kind of the closest thing to a sane man in the bunch. He goes with his girlfriend Lorraine Bracco, who from Goodfellas and from Sopranos. The Dr. Melfi and the Sopranos. Boy, she's good in it. So on the whole, the piece is it's a fun ensemble piece. They're all good in it. It's really low key though. It's like something you wouldn't come across, but I'd recommend if you want to just find something to watch. It's fun, but it gets really tropey towards the end, because here's what they do. The big trope that they do is James Remar is a corrupt cop along with his partner. The two of them, they committed this murder, they're corrupt cops. So we have kind of the trope of okay, our guys are going after him, for beating up the doctor, and then they have to, of course, they're going to try to kill the doctor to make sure there are no witnesses. And it's they frame them for beating up the doctor. So our mental patients have to go on the lam. They're being pursued because they've been. It's like one of those things, really trope. Okay, I know where this is going. Let's wait for them to clear their names, save the day. It's like it just feels really tropey. But aside from that element of it, it's just the simple fun romp. It's really what it is. It's about it. Okay, let's move on through a few of the documentaries here. So we have the family. Yeah.
No, I'm just let's move on. Go ahead.
Okay, the rest of these should blow by a lot faster.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so we have a documentary I found on Amazon called "The Family I Had." It's a true crime piece. Basically, family that's kind of torn apart by a violent act. Basically, a woman has 2 kids. Has her 13, I think, 11 or 13-year-old son, who kills his sister. Tragic stuff, pulled from real life is what happens, and it's basically we tell the story through the surviving mother, and basically the main question of the piece is, can a mother love her child even though the child has murdered the other one? The son.
Man, that sounds like one where it's compelling, but by the same point, it's like if I watch it, it's like, well, there's a mood killer for the day.
It's not something I'd go back to.
If I want to go into a dark place for the day, I know where to go.
That's the thing. It's something I wouldn't quite go back to, but it is interesting.
Right.
It's
interesting, though. I'm just saying, I don't know when I'm ever going to be in the mood to watch something like that.
And the idea is she had another child as since he's been in prison. Of course, now
it's the same thing. It's like, when are you going to be in the mood to watch something like Dear Zachary?
Exactly. So that's I don't know what to tell you. Again, I wouldn't rewatch it, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't compelling enough to make me want to rewatch it. But by the same token, it was it's still hard to get through as well with all the dark stuff in it. So
Sure.
All right, so let's say here's one piece I'd recommend to you, Tiki, of all people.
Okay.
I know you love this era of things. We have the Image Revolution. The Image Revolution is great. This is about Image Comics. Now, basically, this is about Image Comics basically represents the 90s in comics, Tees. That's why you'd want to go to this thing. It's about the rise and this is kind of the rise, and not exactly fall, but it's kind of the rise and fall of the underdog story. Because basically the founders kind of go through an experience here. Some of them kind of leave the company, and basically all of them have varying degrees of success. And the main 3 kind of guys to measure the success by are 3 main players in all this. It's a slew of. Basically, Image was a group forged by DC and Marvel artists who left the company during the 90s, the big heyday in comics, the multiple covers era. And these were like the guys who were breaking into. They were making a name for themselves in the '90s. They were young bucks, as it were. And they left the company. And again, this is like you're leaving the two, like there were only two big names in comics at this point. Then they formed Image, and then basically after Image, then you have like all the other independents going and forming. They have like Dark Horse and everything around this time. Like the Image led the revolution. And these are guys, and the idea is like all of our guys here, they left the company primarily because Jack Kirby. I don't know if this was the sole reason, but one of the big reasons, of course, historically, Jack Kirby, the king of Jack Kirby, Jack the King Kirby. He was mistreated rights-wise. Like he was working until his dying day to make money, and Jack Kirby, he wasn't given royalties, he wasn't given his original artwork. It was a real crime what happened to Jack Kirby. And these artists, again, the artists who worship Jack Kirby, they always it was either filed in the back of their minds or this was the main reason that they left. Like, you guys mistreated Jack Kirby. He died in the '90s. That's why I'm assuming it's like that might have been specifically like the last straw for him. So, your main guys being Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, and the Venom and the a lot of your big stuff there. Spider-Man in the '90s. That's Todd McFarlane. Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool, will have co-creator of Deadpool and Vice, and of course pouches galore. And let's see, and then you have Jim Lee, of course, who's now essentially is co-running DC. I don't know if that's still the case, but for a while he was kind of the co-running DC. He rises through the ranks big time. That's kind of what the piece is about. These guys, they forge Image, and again, some people like Jim Lee, he kind of betrays them by going back to DC. Todd McFarlane, he stays strong with Spawn, and Rob Liefeld is the big ego guy of the group who kind of ruins things. It's a fascinating insight. You get a really interesting story. And there are other players within the piece. It's I think you'd really like, especially the whole social network angle you've always got going on. I think you'd like this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, it's of course you got to remember like the whole '90s they hit the ceiling where of course that's when they have all the cover. Basically, there's like a stock market crash in comics, which definitely has a big impact.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They cover that, and that's of course where Image kind of rises and falls big time in that regard because Image was kind of like they epitomized the '90s and that crash that kind of hurt them, but also helped them.
Okay.
And I won't say how, but I mean I think you can tell like some other stuff plays into Image big time. Some stuff that you used to really like.
That I used to really like. Okay, interesting.
Okay, so let's see. So after Image is one I really recommend to you. Another one is the next thing on the list would be Grant Morrison Talking with God.
So this one kind of piqued my interest just based on the title.
This is like a saner version of that Alan Moore documentary, where the Alan Moore documentary is bonkers, but this thing though. So Grant Morrison is one of the great mysteries in comics. Where Grant Morrison is. He's kind of this
enigma.
Yeah, he's an enigma, but here's the thing: he's an enigma who doesn't keep secrets. Like he'll tell you everything you want to know, but you don't quite get it. In that we basically this whole piece is about unraveling the mystery of this the mystery of the sage-like wonderkin of comics that is Grant Morrison. Like Grant Morrison, of course, it's like he spouts wisdoms galore, and of course, like he's talked about drug trips that he's taken, that he's gotten these great insightful ideas about reality and the metaphysical laws of reality and like all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the main thing I'd highlight with this is that it kind of leads you down the journey of so a lot of Grant Morrison's stories reflect his periods in life as he was growing up, and you get to see kind of a through line and. It's interesting. I'd sell you on that alone. I mean, for me, I love we get the origin of All-Star Superman, which I really, I think everybody really loves it. It's one of the ultimate Superman stories, and it's really great just kind of how that happens. But we also cover the thing I think a lot of people rant on, myself included, is that we don't get into the nitty. We don't really cover a lot of the Batman stuff that he's. We do talk about like Final Crisis. We use that as kind of the main example versus the Batman stuff I always talk about, where it's it's like. It was a big Justice League, the big crossover story, Final Crisis, where some people criticize Grant Morrison for doing this Grant Morrison thing. Like it may be a little too convoluted, Granty. Maybe we shot Icarus flew a little too close to the sun on this one. So we do address like his ideas being a little bigger than himself sometimes. So it's an honest assessment of the guy, and basically it's like Grant Morrison is kind of portrayed here as it's like John Lennon he's like the John Lennon Andy Warhol of comics, like a fusion of those two guys of comics.
See that, yeah, for sure.
That's Grant Morrison. Okay. So moving on, we have Vigilante. Oh my goodness, I really liked Vigilante. As a surprise to me. I didn't know I was going to like this as much as I did. Vigilante is a great story. Here's the thing: I had a passing familiarity with the subject matter of this thing. This is about the Guardian Angels. The Guardian Angels is a vigilante in a loose sense. They're more like a night watch, a night patrol sort of organization. Like they are the group in New York, still operating to this day, and then operating in other parts of town. They wear the red berets, the white shirts with like they say Guardian Angel on it, and they've been an organization in place since 1979. And it was formed by Curtis Sliwa. This is kind of a classic New Yorker. And basically, this is all about like the formation of the Guardian Angels. They're a vigilante group. They kind of patrol. Like they don't use weapons or anything. These guys are on board. Like they follow the law, but it's like they make citizens arrest. Like they're the guys. If you're on the subway where like bad things can happen to people, people can get mugged, worse. These are the guys who are just going to stand in the subways, make sure nothing goes down. Like they're like kind of it's like kind of like a sense of community within the neighborhood. These guys. I first learned about them during like a Watchmen documentary, like on the Watchmen DVD. Okay, so they're talking about real life vigilantes and stuff with the whole Rorschach comparison. And basically, that's where I learned about these guys in the first place. It's like okay, and I just kind of ran across this thing. It's like okay, I'm going to give this thing a watch. And it starts off Tiki. The start of this thing will have you on the edge of your seat, man. It's Curtis Silwa, the leader of the founder of the whole thing, talking about this harrowing experience where he's almost killed in a cab, like Daredevil style. Man, he's almost killed in a cab, Daredevil style. It's oh my god, it's a heroine story, and basically the whole thing is going to walk you through the controversies of like this vigilante group in New York. Again, this is like this is during like the year one era of New York. This is like in early '80s New York, which is what Scott Snyder kind of loved about.
Dragon, this is definitely this out of all the documentaries you're describing, this was the one that I'm like, I never even knew there was such a vigilante scene in New York.
Yeah, I mean, they're still operating, just maybe not as strongly as they used to. And this walks you through the history of it, man. This tells you about, it's about, it shows you some tales of heroism.
I know Batman, that's about it.
And that's the thing. Like, this is like literally what Scott Snyder loved about year one in a documentary here, telling you, again, was chronicling. This is like during the corrupt era of New York, where they have like Ed Koch, you're the mayor of New York being really corrupt and it goes through a whole thing with him where, again, he's working. He doesn't like these guys because they're doing his job better than he is with the police force in the 80s. It's really riveting stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's kind of gets like the core of why a person would become a quote unquote vigilante. And it's like it's not like the fascism people would like say about vigilantes. It's about like being neighborly, like you're watching out for the other guy in the neighborhood. It's like kind of almost like the mission of the Batman sort of thing. It's like the Dark Knight Returns angle of Batman to an extent. Like like this is our neighborhood. You gotta look out for each other. That sort of thing. It's kind of what it is. So vigilante, recommended. Okay, right. Who is Arthur Chu? So who is Arthur Chu? Sorry?
How many more do you have?
2, 3, 4.
Oh god. Okay. I'm sorry, Dragon. I'm trying to like choke down this Red Bull. It's not you. It's just I'm kind of like losing energy here. So okay. Let me just crack open another Red Bull here so we can get through this. All right.
All right. So we have who is Arthur Chu? Arthur Chu, this is essentially, this is kind of, I looked into this because this is kind of a game show piece, but unfortunately this one didn't turn out to be the game show piece I was hoping to. This is on Amazon as well. It's basically on Amazon, kick with all these. Vigilante is also on Amazon. Grant Morrison on Amazon. All of these so far have been on Amazon, I'll tell you.
Gotcha. All right. That's easy to remember.
So far, I mean, I think, basically like W was on Netflix, everything else, I'm just trying to think here. Everything but the last thing is on Amazon.
Okay.
So who is Arthur Chu is basically last thing I saw on Amazon that was about a game show was really great, and we told Mark Sipka about this. I told references to Mark Sipka when we talked to him. It was The Perfect Bid, which I've hyped up to you, which I still think you'd love. You absolutely love that one. It's a conspiracy about The Price is Right, but this is about kind of the Jeopardy quote unquote villain. It's about the Jeopardy villain Arthur Chu, where basically this guy had a success rate on Jeopardy that was unprecedented for a while. And he was kind of targeted with a lot of hateful comments on Twitter. And just the internet really raged against this guy for really insensitive, really mean reasons, just because he played really kind of cold strategically on Jeopardy. He basically played in ways that he knew were going to win, not really sportsman-y. Like a calculated kind of, it was a mathematics sort of thing. He didn't necessarily cheat. And this is my biggest drawback with the thing, though. is that it doesn't really talk about the Jeopardy thing at all. It just talks about, okay, so he did this thing on Jeopardy.
It kind of talks about like the social media kind of implications of it.
I mean, it follows him. It follows his life, so it is focused. I mean, the next time I'm going to get in,
Right.
one of the things I'm going to get at is kind of the opposite of this, which is a big problem thing for me. But this thing, I mean, it is focused. It's just, I wish they talked more about the Jeopardy because that's why he came on the thing. Because again, I was hoping for more of like a deep dive. What exactly? It doesn't tell you how exactly he did it. It just talks about, okay, so he did this. And this is again, but it gets all the hate and everything. We do look at it through the void of, okay, so Twitter is definitely a presence on this thing. It's looks at it as a negative device. We have he has a really bad interview about Gamergate because that's the idea. This guy, he's kind of a speaker for racism and feminism in the gaming world, as well as just kind of like, I guess, in online media and everything, because he's been kind of a target of hate. We get into his family life a little bit, the struggle he has with his father. Like his father had an affair when he was a kid, and there's like a lot of trust issues there. So we delve into some interesting stuff, but I don't think the subject's as interesting as he thinks. I think there's a bit of an ego with this guy. And I think that, and they talk about that, and I just feel like, I don't know if that's necessarily making up for it, if you catch my meaning.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It doesn't sound like my thing.
I know I wouldn't strongly recommend this to you either. I happened upon this, and it's like, again, it's not one of my favorites of the thing I'll watch. But anyway, the point being, it's I wish it was a little bit more about Jeopardy. That's where I'm coming down on. Okay, next thing, the fabulous Alan Carr. So this is the story of a flamboyant film producer who made his bones on Grease and Anne Margaret, the performer. So that's really where he basically made her career and produced Grease. That's his big claim to fame. And this guy's just kind of a very flamboyant producer. And the main reason I checked this out, and the main thing that might pique your interest on this, Tiki, is that this guy was he was the host of the 89th Oscars. I'm sorry, of the 1989 Oscars. Sorry about that. He was the host of the 1989 Oscars, which infamously was the first hostless Oscars, which was one of the most infamous Oscars that they had. And that's what this gets at. This basically talks about like this guy, like he wants to make a mark in Hollywood. His big dream is to host the Oscars, and the Oscars that he hosts is the big bomb. Yeah, and it kind of gets like maybe people are a little harsher on that Oscars than they should have been, and kind of gets you into the history of the guy. It kind of makes you root for the guy. It's an interesting little piece, though. Put it simply. Okay. Last I want to spend more than a minute on this next one. So, Hot Coffee. Oh boy, Hot Coffee is it's about the famous McDonald's lawsuit, which is why I watched it. It has a really great opening with it has the Seinfeld parody in it right at the start. Like, okay, this thing gets me. Okay, it's using the Seinfeld parody. It's going to make it's going to frame the case, like how it went down in pop culture. Okay, it's winning me over. But then, right after that opening, almost immediately after it talks about the actual case. A woman buys coffee at McDonald's, she spills it on herself, and she sues because the coffee was too hot.
Right.
And again, legal case. Of course, you and I were very much we're legal fanboys to an extent in some regard. But this thing, it gets distracted way too fast. It gets really tedious. It's just all about like the issue, people making lawsuits. Like, are they genuine? Are they not? It's like, okay, this isn't about the case at all. I don't care. It just loses me.
Oh man, that's a shame.
Yeah, and that's the point. This was the biggest.
It almost kind of sounds like they took like a like a popular news story and then kind of was like, all right, we'll use this as like a jumping off point, and then really kind of like backdoor in a lot of things that we want to say about the current culture of the legal system.
Comment pop up from Donovan here. What's the name of this? So this is Hot Coffee. In case I've read the comment too. Like the previous thing was the fabulous Alan Carr, and before that was Who is Arthur Chu. Okay, so the point is Hot Coffee was very disappointing. Okay, the last thing here, and this is one you actually really might like, Tiki. This last thing, and this you can find on YouTube.
Okay.
So this is Medieval Times: The Making of Army of Darkness. Now, being the Sam Raimi fan that you are, of course, I know I don't know how much of a Sam Raimi fan you are, but I know you like the Sam Raimi films.
I mean, I'm mostly a Raimi or I'm mostly a Spider-Man Raimi fan.
Oh, sure, that's fair enough. But regardless, I think this one might strike your fancy. It might, I don't know. But so I've gotten into here's the thing. I've gotten into the Evil Dead franchise, but not.
It would strike my fancy more if it was a documentary about like the actual performers at the medieval times restaurants. I'm not even kidding about that.
Anyway, so for me, with the Evil Dead franchise, I really got into Ash versus Evil Dead, the show that they did, and Army of Darkness. Because honestly, the fact of the matter is, I don't think I can get through the first two Evil Dead films. I think they're too darn scary. I know, wimpy thing to say. I'm sorry. It's just I don't know. I mean, if anything, I might be able to get through the second one, but I hear it's more screwed up. But I don't know. It's because there's at least comedy in the second one. That's the thing. That's the thing that balances me out on the Evil Dead stuff. The Evil Dead is extremely violent and gruesome and deadites and everything, but there's comedy. It's Bruce Campbell. That's what's got me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the show I've been able to get to this point. I've become like not a fully fleshed out Evil Dead fan. I've become somewhat of an Evil Dead fan. So I watched Army of Darkness, and then so having that built in, Army of Darkness is the tamest of all the Evil Dead movies. Anyway, so this documentary is about the making of that, and basically I was on a Bruce Campbell kick this month. I listened to Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. They had Bruce Campbell on. Bruce Campbell told amazing stories, and I watched a few podcasts. Other podcasts that he appeared on, and essentially I was just on the Bruce Campbell cave. I was typing, I wonder if really a documentary on Bruce Campbell or something. I kind of happened upon this, and basically it kind of elaborates on the stories he was telling in the podcast about the making and the troubles with the studio on Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness, of course, it's not called Evil Dead 3, and that's what we get into with this. It's like this thing had a lot of development problems where. It was in development for a couple of years. Basically, they filmed and they're waiting on release for like a couple of years. They're dealing with Dino De Laurentiis, who was kind of like this big producer. He's a little, let's just say, eccentric to say the least. Dino De Laurentiis, the producer of the Silence of the Lambs movies, or at least he kind of sued so he couldn't produce the Silence of the Lambs movies. It's really weird. It's fun, but anyway, the point being, it's a story in its own right. So this. The main thing, like we talk about the ratings battle, because this thing is essentially it feels like PG-13. I think it gets an R rating, but basically because it has purely because it has skeletons in it, not even deadites like it usually has, like not even like full-blown like gruesome zombies. Because this thing has skeletons, it first got an NC-17 rating, so they had to deal with that. So it gets into like a whole thing. Of course, this movie had like a lot of alternate endings, so it's really informative. This is informative and kind of talks about kind of the underrated installment of the Evil Dead franchise, and it's an interesting story, and it's a well-produced documentary. That's why I put it. It's short, simple, and to the point. It's like I think it's like an hour and maybe it's like 96 minutes, so it's not a long installment. And it's pretty up to date. It was like 2015 it was made, like when the Ash versus Evil Dead show got okayed, or at least it's in the first season. So it's good. If you're an Evil Dead fan, I think you'd like it. If you're Sam Raimi fan, we do have a lot of fun Sam Raimi stories in this. So like about how Sam Raimi abuses the actors and his history with Bruce Campbell. Some fun stuff.
All right, so Dragon, I'm sorry, we're at a point where I literally can't like talk anymore. So I'm fucking sorry, man. Best movie I saw this month is probably, I don't know, it's between Shazam and Endgame. I mean, for two totally different reasons, but probably going to lean towards Endgame just for the event factor of it all. Worst movie I saw this month, I mean, it's not terrible, but it just didn't do much for me outside of a couple decent performances. Pet Semetary was just kind of bleh. I mean, Missing Link might be the most disappointing movie I saw this month, especially coming off the heels of Kubo, so I don't know, it's a shame.
Right. For me, the best thing I saw, Endgame, easily. Worst thing, I mean, I guess technically, it's not like a harsh like worst thing, but it's just like, I think just by process of elimination, Hellboy, because again, it could have been a lot stronger script wise. Again, story wise, it's really a weak story wise. So I'm going to say Hellboy, but again, it's like Justice League vs. Fatal Five was okay. Hellboy has problems, so at least Hellboy has more legitimate problems than that. So Hellboy was the worst in terms of the catch up for me, because again, catch up for you, I don't want you to get crucified, so we're going to avoid that for you for best worst for catch up. But for me,
with best worst, I'd still say like best would be Singing in the Rain. Worst would be The Kid Who Would Be King. I mean, I enjoyed The Kid Who Would Be King, but I'm not fucking crazy. Like Singing in the Rain is a better movie than that.
Okay, that's good to hear. Relieved to hear you say that. Okay, well, for me, for catch up, it was the best thing I saw. I mean, here's the thing: it's really between Searching and the Kane Hodder to Hell and Back. But honestly, I'm going to go Searching. Searching really dazzled me. I mean, nothing against Kane Hodder. I see the Searching thing was amazing.
Yeah, Searching is fantastic for sure.
And the worst thing, hot coffee, without hesitation. Hot coffee. If I had to look beyond that, maybe the family I have, it's not bad. It's just really kind of like not saying I'd revisit. But hot coffee was just utterly just not what I wanted it to be at all. It was the only that was the only major disappointment I had this month. Yeah, I struck it good this month, folks, but not with hot coffee.
All right, so looking ahead, Dragon. Looking ahead. I mean, there's definitely stuff I want to see in May for sure.
Well, Netflix, we got
Chris Stuckman actually just did a review of a movie called The Intruder that comes out the first week of June, and I gotta say, based on how he described the movie, it definitely has me intrigued. I'll definitely check it out if it comes to my theater for sure. Let's see. Are you gonna go see Ugly Dolls, Dragon, the musical event of the year?
Every time I get ice cream, they keep trying to sell me on Ugly Dolls. I don't want to see Ugly Dolls.
Yeah, I am avoiding that thing like the plague.
They just keep advertising on my ice cream.
I go see most every animated film in theaters, but that is one where it just draws the line for me.
Why are you trying to kill my appetite with the Ugly Dolls movie? Why?
Of course, on Netflix, we're going to be getting Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. We'll definitely.
I am so there for that.
Of course, Detective Pikachu is probably the movie I'm most looking forward to in May. I'm pretty stoked on that one. Let's see. Tolkien is going to be that's going to be an interesting one. I've heard good things about that one.
What the heck is Tolkien about?
It's just kind of like a biopic on J.R.R. Tolkien. And
I knew it. It is a biopic. All right.
Yeah, it's a biopic. Let's see what else is here.
Oh, it's at the end of the month. I'm just trying to think if there's anything before that.
Okay, one of the things, folks, I'm sorry, I have to say that I'm not going to see is John Wick Chapter 3.
Oh, I'm going to try to see it because I'd like to see that too. Because I've seen the other two.
The John Wick movies just, I gotta say, to me, they're just like I feel like I'm totally not on the same wavelength as everyone else about the John Wick movies. Like, I don't get what makes them so special. I get that they're good action. I get that it's well choreographed action. I just don't get what makes them these like mind-blowing cerebral experiences. Maybe I'm just not an action guy. Maybe like just well choreographed action in and of itself doesn't really get me. I mean, that's. Go ahead.
There is a simple answer, Tiki. It's just, I know why people love the movie so much.
Don't say the fucking dog.
No, not the dog. No, not.
All right. What?
Continental, the mercenary hangout. That's why.
All right. I get that. I for some reason I just don't find that idea of the mercenary hotel that mind blowing. I really don't.
Well, I mean, it's that and the action. Those are the two factors. I'm saying. I think, but they're doing a spin-off for the Continental, which makes me think, okay, it has to be ipso facto be the Continental.
Of course, Dragon, this is the second cute dog movie to come out this year. Aren't you excited for A Dog's Journey? I
hate the effing dog movies.
I literally don't know the difference between A Dog's Journey and A Dog's Way Home.
I just don't care. Mel Gibson with a dog, that's about it. I don't
know. Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff coming, Dragon. There really is. Aladdin, of course, as I said, I describe that as like a homework movie. Like, I'm going to see it for the podcast, but I'm not jumping up and down to see it by any means.
I may or may not see it, but again, I'm non-committal on it.
Brightburn, though. Brightburn, I'm pretty stoked for.
I am very interested in that movie. That's one I'm going to try to see, but I mean, I don't know if I'm able to see within the month or not, but I'm going to try to see that one. Yeah.
And then, of course, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. We got to see that for the Farmiga Factor.
Yes. Both of our girls are in. Well, I keep saying because a friend of mine loves Stranger Things, and every time I say, hey, it's my girl's in this, just, please. Every time I say, hey, my girl's in that, and he says, like, wait, you mean Millie Bobby Brown's? Like, no, I mean, she's good too, but no, the other. Oh, her Farmiga.
All right. Rocket Man.
Is that this month?
It's the 31st.
Oh man, I'm so excited for Rocket Man. That looks great.
I mean, here's the thing, Dragon. I think we might have to like extend the memoirs for May into maybe the first week of June, like, potentially up to like June 7th or so. because there's a lot of stuff coming out like right towards the end of May, like Godzilla, Rocket Man. This isn't up your alley, but the horror movie Ma with Octavia Spencer, where she just kind of plays this like crazy ghetto trash lady who's like stalking a group of teenagers. That movie looks like a lot of fun.
That sounds terrifying.
It looks like so much fun. It really does.
Oh my god. Hey, wait, I'm sorry, I was thinking, because when I saw Hellboy, I had these trailers for these Dave Bautista movies. I'm wondering if any of those come out in May.
I have no idea. Well, Dave Bautista actually. Hold on, I saw his name in.
Like, there was My Spy. Like, does that come out this month?
Hold on, I saw Dave Bautista's name in one of these things. Let me.
There's two movies with Dave Bautista. One's called My Spy. The other one's it's like Stuber. I think it's called like Steven Uber or something.
Stuber. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That comes out in July.
Okay, that's July. So anything about My Spy this month or no?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, there's one other movie we forgot about. One I'd love to see, but I just don't know if I'm going to have the occasion to see it. I'd love to see it though. The Long Shot.
Remind me what this even is.
This is it looks really good. It's it looks really fun at least. I mean, not like it's not Detective Pikachu by any stretch, but it's it's the one with Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen. It's going to be like a romantic comedy. I think it's
I saw
Bob Odenkirk plays the president in that movie. Odenkirk's in that. He's going to play the president.
No, it could be good. It could be good. I mean, I feel like Seth Rogen's a very good, reliable comedy star for this sort of time frame.
Yeah, again, it looks like it's a good like an understated movie. It's like it's gonna be like a good like romantic comedy, perhaps. Like it looks like it would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to see it. I just don't know if I'm gonna have the occasion. It's kind of a weird one to kind of try to get a group to go see. I don't know.
But yeah, obviously, Detective Pikachu is where I'm at, man. Like, I am so stoked for Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu. I mean, the only other one Rocket Man looks really good, but I mean, without hesitation, it's Detective Pikachu, obviously.
And then Brightburn.
Again, Brightburn looks really. I'm just afraid it's going to be a little. The one bit in the trailer just has me freaked out beyond all belief. Is the glass in the eye bit? Like, oh god, I don't know if I'm that's the thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. That's the one that because that trailer already has me terrified, man. I don't even know. That's the thing. I want to see Brightburn because I love what it's about, and I love this.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I love like the mother with a child with superpowers. Like that whole angle has me so fascinated. Oh boy!
Well, if anything, I'll see it and tell you how it is. So.
You know something ridiculous? Like a real quick. When I saw the symbol that Brightburn was drawing, the symbol on the mask and everything, like the weird, like kind of like diamonds turned on a side look. I kept thinking that it was going to be like a dark, gritty reboot of The Greatest American Hero because it has like a similar.
Oh no!
That's what my instinct was when I saw the image. Like, oh my god, it looks a little bit like the symbol for the great American hero. The ridiculous guy with the afro in the onesie.
Yeah, I think you were a little far off on that.
I was, and it clarified itself. I'm just saying, from like, oh my god, where are they going with this?
Okay. So I guess that's about it, Dragon. Any final thoughts on the month besides Endgame just completely eclipsed everything?
Let me just read through it here. Donovan said, Endgame was the best for him. Detective Pikachu, Godzilla 2, and Aladdin are definitely ones that he's checking out. He can't. He's interested in the Tolkien movie. Can't wait for Brightburn.
Donovan, you and I are pretty much on the same page of movies we're looking forward to next month, man. We're pretty simpatico.
But yeah, final thoughts again. Just April for me was really rewarding. I know I get a lot of good movies. I just kind of caught up on, and in regards again, Endgame. Yes, Endgame's going to make all the monies, but again, make all the monies for a good reason. It has my money already twice now. Let's see what I'm going to give it to it a few more times. Even I mean, again we got a great Shazam movie, and we got an even better Avengers movie. What more can you ask for?
Okay, well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. Time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our
Movie Memoirs.
We've got to have money.
Oh.